start your engine.
Hey, baby. As the ASA's final dance of the year approaches, every nut and bolt has to be checked. Each pit stop becomes more and more critical. Any misstep can spell disaster. Today they drop the green on the final 3 rounds of the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series. The series about to motor into the future, but the cast of contenders will still vie for position. And the bumper-to-bumper, hunka-hunka burnin' short track action continues. Welcome to the Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania for the ASA's Pontiac Excitement 400. Presented today by Jana King Commercial Cleaning Services. Beautiful afternoon for stock car racing. Temperature in the middle 70s, a full grandstand and a full field of ASA stock cars ready to do battle in the National Championship ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series. Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Benjamin. Welcome to our live coverage here on TNN Motorsports of the ASA Championship Series. Final chapter's about to be written in the 1999 story. There is a ton on the line here today. A very close championship battle between Mike Miller and Tim Sauter. We'll talk more about that. But there's some special bonus money up for grabs here today as well from Jana King Commercial Cleaning Services. I want to welcome to the broadcast my colleague, Jim Trado. And Jim, a couple of drivers here have a lot of extra incentive today.
At the beginning of the year, Jana King picked out 3 races. They said, we're going to put a 50 grand bonus up if you can win all 3. If you win 2 of the 3, you win $10,000. Well, Jimmy Johnson won at Memphis. Mike Eddy won at La Crosse. They're going to battle for a $10,000 bonus if they were able to win today's 400 lappers.
Both those drivers qualifying very well. In fact, Eddy, second quickest in qualifying. He'll end up starting on the pole. Interesting story. Let's get the front row details this afternoon. Let's head downstairs to Brian Drebber.
Thanks, guys. Quick qualifier for this one was Mike Miller in the Jana King Pontiac, and directly behind him are his 2 principal rivals for the championship, Gary St. Amant, and 1 row further back, it's Tim Sauter. All Mike Miller needs is a good finish here today. But for the driver of the 88 car, Mike Eddy, special added incentive. And Mike, does the money from Jana King provide you with just a little extra momentum coming here today?
Well, you know, it'd be really nice to get that, but first you got to get in the winner's circle. So we'll work real hard to get this DuPont Automotive Lowell Chevrolet in the winner's circle, and then we'll be glad to take Mike Miller's money.
All right, there you have it, guys. Mike Eddy smiling on the front row. They will switch positions when they start the race. Mike Miller, the pole sitter, has elected to start from the outside back upstairs.
And the reason why he'd want to go to the outside is going to be evident in a moment. Our colleague on these broadcasts, our expert analyst, 3-time ASA champion, Butch Miller. And Butch, this is a rough racetrack, especially going down into turn 1.
It sure is. The winners up here are pretty tough, and it's been real tough on the lower groove. Might sound like bad news, but actually that's good news because it makes for a real nice and smooth outside groove, real bumpy low groove, makes for a 2-groove racetrack. That's what racing's all about.
Mike Miller, the quick qualifier, gets to make that choice, and he decided to start outside row number 1 today. We talked about the season-long championship battle and the Jana King bonus money that's up today. There's another big pot of cash on the line as we get close to the end of the season. The Pat Shower Rookie of the Year Award is worth $50,000. Right now, Ricky Johnson heads those standings. He's got 111 points to the good over Tristan Dupuis, who's had a very strong first year with the 3 races to go. It's anybody's $50,000 at this point. Let's find out how the rookie leader sees things today. Back downstairs to Brian Drebber.
First guys ahead of him, Derek Gilchrist, of course, who has been brilliant this season, is one of the principal rivals for that title. 3 victories have him firmly in place for that. Tristan Dupuis, 1 row further back and on the outside, has also shown flashes of brilliance here this season, and he remains a contender of sorts. Eddie Hoffman has shown similar brilliance, but just too much bad luck to really put him in contention for that Pat Shower Rookie of the Year prize. And a little bit further back, Tim Taylor also out of contention, but this is Rookieville. 6 out of the 7 drivers on rows 7 through 10 are rookie drivers. Behind Taylor, it's Russ Tuttle, who had big problems in practice. We'll get to more on that later. He was lucky to get the Tyson Chevrolet on the line at all. But here is the rookie points leader who is used to winning championships, Ricky Johnson, usually on 2 wheels. Ricky, you haven't had to rail off a berm or triple past anybody this season, but you've been running out front just about since it began. So consistent.
Well, the whole competitive field is, Eddie Hoffman, Derek Gilchrist, Tristan Dupuis, everybody's been running really strong. We've been the consistent one, and that's what's gotten us out in front. We got bitten at Milwaukee with that first turn incident, but the object of this year was to win this rookie title, and that's what Nationwide Auction Systems and also Herzog Motorsports is shooting for.
Good luck to you then.
Thanks a lot.
Back
Ricky
upstairs,
Johnson.
guys.
Ricky Johnson rolling off from the 18th starting spot today. Let's take a look at the season standings. 3 races to go. There's that gap between Miller and Sutter, less than 100 points. Jimmy Johnson, Gary Sandemont still with title hopes. Last Monday's winner, Mike Garvey, getting back into the top 5. But Jim Trano, the battles for points further back in the top 15, very, very tough.
Looking at how these stack up, there's about 38 points separating Rick Johnson from Tristan Dupuis, and it's a very tight battle, not only for the rookies, but the overall. It's worth thousands of dollars to finish 6th instead of 7th in the championship points. Gilchrist is up to 10th in points with 3 victories, but the guys behind Gilchrist, 11th through 14th, are only separated by 25 points, and that's amazing when you think about how long the season's been. 18 events are going to be run today. Brandon Sperling, again, just 25 points, 5 top 10 positions ahead of Eddie Hoffman in the standings.
And we'll be watching all of those drivers as they make their progress through the field here this afternoon at Jennerstown Speedway. 400 laps of action coming up. To get the words that'll put this one underway, back downstairs to Brian Drebber.
And to help me do that, it's going to be Perry Ames from Osborne, Pontiac in Du Bois, Pennsylvania. Take it away.
On behalf of the Keystone Country Pontiac dealers, gentlemen, start your engines!
Cars set to do battle here at Jennerstown Speedway. We'll be back with more on TNN Motorsports in a moment. Field underway here at Jennerstown Speedway. First of a couple of pace laps as we get set to start this afternoon. Still summertime, but we think of it as fall since it's after Labor Day. You've got to come to the Laurel Highlands of Pennsylvania at some point. This is a beautiful racetrack in a terrific part of the country. The ASA's official pace car leading the field around, of course, the Pontiac Grand Prix. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Pontiac Excitement 400 today. Mike Miller, the fast qualifier on the pole. He's the series point leader. Mike Eddy back with us today in the DuPont Chevrolet. He'll start with the second quick time, but they will flip-flop when we take the green here today. Second row, series champ Gary St. Amant and Dave Sensible will line up third and fourth today. Going in the third row, Tim Sauter from the seat of Wisconsin in car number 9 as we show you row number 2. Field moves through turn 4. Drivers waving to the fans. Your third row today will look like this. Tim Sauter in car number 9. He's won a couple of these this season. And Mike Garvey, the winner last Monday at the Minnesota State Fair in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. Fourth row, Jimmy Johnson from El Cajon, California in the Pennzoil Chevrolet. Jack Landis, the Adirondack Speedway Ford, the 07. He'll start 8th. Row 5, Greg Usher from Grand Rapids, Michigan in car number 45, the Port City Pontiac, and Rick Beebe from Merriam, Kansas in the Meyer Stores Chevrolet. Row number 6 today looks like this. Matt Hagens from Indianapolis, Indiana in the Medallion Tortilla Chips Chevrolet. And Jack Smith from Seville, Ohio in the Top Gun Chevrolet, the 04. Seventh row, and this is a row to watch. On the inside, Derek Gilchrist, the Greased Lightning Chevrolet. He's won 3 races this year. Brandon Sperling, the McDonald's drive-through Chevrolet. He started to come on strong. Row 8, rookie Eddie Hoffman from Westchester, Illinois. Don Finetti Structural Transport Ford, and Tristan Dupuis, who's second in the rookie points, the Freshetta Pizzas Pontiac, car number 11. Your 9th row today, Tim Taylor, the EMAS Ambulance Service Chevrolet, and Ricky Johnson from El Cajon, California, Rookie of the Year points leader, the Nationwide Auction Systems Herzog Motorsports Chevrolet. Row number 10, Ross Tuttle, the Tyson Foods Chevrolet. He's from Indianapolis. Great story there. We'll tell you more about it as the afternoon goes on. And Greg Stewart in the Keener Lumber Pontiac. Row 11. As we take you further back in the field here today, the 11th row, Harold Fair from Detroit, Michigan. The Diesel Repair Pontiac celebrating his 53rd birthday today, and Dave Doran from Cincinnati in the Lista Pontiac. Row number 12 will be Alec Pinsino, the Moldplast Chevrolet. That's the 93 car from Windsor, Ontario. Rookie Ken Alexander from Anderson, South Carolina, the Greased Lightning Chevrolet. 13th row, Andy Ponstein from Grand Haven, Michigan, the 00. Tom Harrington from Shreveport, Louisiana, the Young Motorsports Pontiac. 14th row, Jack Ritter from Zeeland, Michigan. That's the 97 car. And Pierre Goulet from Mason, Michigan in the Coleman Racing 43. Row 15, Randall Parker from Jenison, Michigan. Car number 34, the Port City Pontiac. And Jim Froling in the Farmer Jack Supermarkets Ford. That is car number 46. 16th row, David Anspaugh, the 37 from Sturgis, Michigan, the First Aid Chevrolet, and Travis Price from Oxford, Georgia, the Quick Car Pontiac, and shotgun on the field. Driving the GM Project 2000 Pontiac with the Laser V8 motor from Bloomington, Minnesota, Ted Smokestad, and that car will be testing here today throughout the course of the 400 laps. Show you the drivers that did not make the program here this weekend. Several drivers not fast enough to start the Pontiac Excitement 400. David Elliott, Mike Thomas. Alan Pinsino trying to bring the 39 car here this weekend. Did not make the show. Neither did Jamie Bolkovac, who's run a couple of races this year, and Jim Friedland. So 5 drivers failing to qualify here this afternoon. We'll show you our race analysis today. Posted awards of nearly $170,000 for the 33 drivers. The distance a little more than 200 miles. This is just over a half mile. And Mike Miller, the defending race champion. We'll take you for some onboard views. We'll be riding with Ken Alexander from the 24th starting spot today. He has really started to come on in the second half of the season. Mike Garvey, last Monday's winner, gave us some great views then. I'm sure it'll be the same today. We'll also be on board with the quick qualifier, Mike Miller, the series point leader. He'll start outside row number 1. We're glad you're with us. Green flag in the air. We're racing at Jennerstown. We're glad to have you here on TNN. But Mike Eddy makes the inside lane work. He's your leader as they work down through 1 and 2. Eddy with 5 victories at this racetrack. Bonus money in front of him today. That's like dangling raw meat in front of a hungry pup.
And you're in the cage of Mike Eddy. This is his place. He's run here 14 times now. He's led in 10 of those races for a whopping 1,542 laps coming into this one. So we're looking at he could go anywhere 1,700 laps led just at this facility in ASA Racing. You mentioned those 5 wins, Rick. Win number 6 would get him near about 25 grand to win the deal and the bonus.
Wow. Mike Garvey started 6th today in the 1 car. He is on the outside and moving up, working Gary St. Amant to try to take 4th on the front stretch. And he's got him by a wheel as they work into turn 1. Butch Miller, Mike Miller, told me that the outside line going into 1 is where he likes to run here, but he didn't make it work for him on the green flag.
No, ASA feels that the fast qualifier should take his choice on the best starting spot in the field. And Mike Miller felt like the outside lane was that way. I didn't agree with him, but apparently I was right for once.
Mike Eddy didn't put up much of a fight when Miller said, I'll take the outside of the front row. Eddy has scooted off to about a 6-car length advantage right now. You're on board with Mike Garvey. Gary St. Amant, he and St. Amant fighting for 4th. And Tim Sauter right up in there as well on the inside with 4 laps complete. Give Garvey 4th. St. Amant and Sauter now fighting for 5th. Gary going way high up in 1 and 2. It's 3 wide up onto the backstretch. You're on board Garvey in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. For a moment there, St. Amant wanted to make it 3 abreast down the back straightaway. He tucks in now behind Garvey up high. Jimmy Johnson looks low as they battle it out for 6th. Sauter and Garvey are side by side for 4th and 5th. Then you've got St. Amant outside Johnson. Both the outside lane cars a little quicker. So Garvey by himself now. There's Eddy in the battle for 2nd. Look at Dave Sensiba pressuring Miller. Mike now trying to stay up high through 1 and 2. Sensiba down low. You're on board the Janet King Pontiac with Mike Miller. Closes the door on Sensiba down the backstretch to hold on to 2nd. He'll run high. Miller's won here a couple of times in years past. He assumes 2nd spot with no problem. Garvey now closing right in on Mike Miller's deck lid. Looking high on Sensiba. This is for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Garvey hangs on to 4th. He's got Tim Sauter right behind him. Back from Mike Miller's machine. Miller is 2nd. All of this has let Mike Eddy scoot away to an even bigger lead. Look at this. Garvey now goes high on Sauter. Behind Sensiba. Sauter says, I'll take the low side. Trying to get that spot back. And now Sensiba looks inside Miller. So the battles are for 2nd and for 4th. Jimmy Johnson and Gary St. Amant. You got a glimpse of their cars battling for 6th. Johnson with the advantage by a car length over St. Amant. Stack them 2 deep again down the backstretch. We're only 10 laps into this. Be surprised that this is such heated competition so early.
In practice, qualifying, and happy hour, Tim Sauter said he could do whatever he had to keep that car on the bottom. He feels that the unique groove here at Jennerstown coming off turn 4 is an outside line or middle to out. He wants to run the bottom because he doesn't think many cars will stay there. He's able to keep his car down there, and he said he's going to set the car to run low, and I think that's why Garvey's comfortable where he is on the outside, and Sauter's on the bottom feeling okay.
Garvey now is closed right up on Mike Miller's deck lid. He tries to race into 3rd around the white car Sensiba, the 6 machine. From the back door of Mike Miller's Pontiac. Garvey right there. Garvey gets 3rd by half a car length, and now Sensiba comes back. side seems to be working better for these cars. But remember, Mike Eddy is leading the race, and he's almost a quarter of a track ahead. From the back door of Miller's machine, Garvey now will go low in the 1. Second and third on the racetrack. There's Eddy, your leader, over the stripe, 13 complete. Miller second in the Janiking car, the 18. Garvey is third. Now Sauter by a wheel is fourth in the 9. Sensiba back to fifth in the 6th car, but he's going to be right in there. And Jimmy Johnson on the outside, he is 6th. Wants a position. Garvey up behind Miller. Garvey in the black number 1 there, the Tecumseh machine, the winner last Monday here on TNN Motorsports. He tucks into third. He's come from 6th in the first 15 laps, so Garvey is quick again today. Miller, of course, racing for the national championship in the 18 car. He's got 92 points over Tim Sauter. So Sauter needs to get by Miller, try to win this one, and hope that Miller has mechanical difficulties. Tight battling for second all the way back to 8th spot. Garvey to the inside of Miller. Seems to be able to put the Lefebvre Chevrolet anywhere he wants it on the racetrack. But Miller, look at that high side. He is very strong up there.
Miller bound and determined, and Garvey was pulling away from the field, following him on the outside, but Sauter made the outside pass on Sensiba, tucked to the bottom. I think Garvey checked the mirror and said, Sauter's coming. I'm going to try to get to the bottom before he can get the lead.
He's got the door closed at the moment. Garvey by a fender over Miller for second. Sensiba back in 4th in this group. They're 5th overall, Sensiba is. Garvey now pulling away. He is second behind race leader Mike Eddy. And now Sauter to the inside of the 18 car. You're on board Miller. Tim Sauter is right there in the blue and white number 9. That's the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet of Alec Pinsino. And he moves by to take up 3rd spot. Sensiba back to 5th. Jimmy Johnson is 6th. There's your leader. Mike Eddy jumped from the outside, or actually the inside of the front row, after he and Mike Miller crossed over on the initial start. Eddy has pulled off to a nice lead of about 3 seconds over Mike Garvey at Jennerstown. And 400 presented by Janiking Commercial Cleaning Services. First caution of the afternoon just happening. Greg Stewart spins up in 4. A couple of other cars scatter to get by him. Stewart has backed into the inside retaining wall, and we're under caution for the first time today. Close quarters here at Jennerstown, pretty wide, but you've got concrete walls all the way around the inside and the outside, so there's not much room for error here. And Stewart spun, had another car come up on him, tried to release the brakes, let the car roll a little, but I think he rolled into the wall as that was all going on. So Stewart will have to come to pit road. Doesn't look like it's heavily damaged, but it'll put him behind the wall for a little while, you'd think.
He backed it in pretty good. We see where the fuel fill is. That'll be critical for the team if they do get the car repaired, if they're able to get fuel back in that Keener Lumber Pontiac. And as hard as he hit the wall, it might have done some frame damage as well.
Greg Usher in the 45, the other car involved in that spin. Usher comes down pit road slowly, 35 miles an hour. The speed limit here today. Crew will dive under the hood of the Usher machine, see what's going on under there, make sure he's ready to return to the racetrack. Russ Tuttle has had an interesting weekend here today. The rookie contender in the Tyson Foods 16 car. A lot of problems on Saturday. In fact, hit the wall very, very hard. Brian Drebber, they had a lot of work to do to get that car ready to qualify and then run in today's event.
Well, I think if anybody could sympathize with the plight of Greg Stewart right now, it would be Dennis Grossnickel, crew chief on the Tyson Chevrolet. You guys had a thrash yesterday, Dennis.
Yeah, that's not a good way to have a practice day, but we made it through it, the whole Tyson crew. They did a heck of a job. We probably had 10 other teams down there helping us, and it was just a horrendous effort. Russ went out there and qualified, and he was on the edge, not knowing to trust the car or not, and it all worked out well. We had a good run. And I'm just proud of everybody. And I'd like to say happy birthday to my mother, Janice, back in Wabash, Indiana.
All right. And guess what, guys? They were fast in practice. You know that. They're also fast out here today and moving up.
Like a nice birthday gift, certainly, for that entire team and for Dennis's mom. And we will tell you more about that situation, and we'll reset things here at Jennerstown when we continue. Mike Eddy is your leader, 28 laps live at Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania, the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series here on TNN Motorsports. The Pontiac Excitement 400 presented by Janiking Commercial Cleaning Services. Today under caution for the first time. Greg Stewart, a couple of other cars involved in a little spin down in turn 4. Not much contact, although Stewart's machine did back into the inside jersey barriers there. So Stewart's car will go out on the hook. Might be able to return. We'll have to see how wrinkled up the back end of that race car is. We were talking about Russ Tuttle and his problems of yesterday. Jim, they changed about everything but the radiator cap.
Her chief, Dennis Grossnickel, had friends that lived nearby. He got out the welder and did a lot of the work himself last night. They changed the transmission, rear end, fuel cell they had to adjust. The drive shaft was replaced. The engine was actually pushed forward 2 inches. He had a left rear impact in the wall in turn 4 in practice. He said the hardest part on the left rear quarter panel is the fuel fill, getting that to fit and take on fuel via the fuel can. You can see the adjustments made by the monochromatic duct tape on there. The yellow quarter panel is mostly tape as they got that car repaired. He said they had a backup, but he didn't want to yank the motor out of that one. He said he likes getting dirty, likes playing with the chassis, likes welding the rear clip back together. So they decided to fix this very fast car. It was 7th quick in practice before they crashed.
And Butch Miller, you know that if you like your race car, you don't want to bring the backup out if at all possible.
Absolutely not. Once you get a favorite race car, you run that thing every place possible.
Got to look at the scuff on the wall there. That's where Tuttle's machine got into the concrete yesterday during practice before qualifying. And as we said, Russ came out and qualified the car, not really knowing what he had, but did a nice job with it. So he's ready to go green here on the restart. He'll restart back at 24th spot behind leader Mike Eddy. Eddy jumped off to quite a lead when they dropped the green. This is one of his favorite places, having the 5 wins, more than 1,500 laps led here over the years. You know that he's looking forward to a fun afternoon up front.
Ironically, this was not on his schedule. Until he won at La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway, they were going to run maybe 3 or 4 with the Eiten Chevrolet team, but once he found out the carrot was dangled and he knew he could go back to one of his favorite joints, it was an easy decision.
So Mike Eddy in the 88 car is your leader. Getting set for a restart. We'll take a quick time out at Jennerstown Speedway. The fast half mile at Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. The ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series, the Pontiac Excitement 400. I'm Rick Benjamin, Jim Trado, and Butch Miller topside. Downstairs, Brian Driver on pit road today as we are on board with series point leader Mike Miller back and forth for the restart. His point lead less than 100 over Tim Sauter. It's happened a couple of times before that a driver has been able to come from behind with 3 races to go and take over the lead. In fact, it's happened over the years 5 different times. So this one is not over by any means. Neither is this race, the Pontiac Excitement 400, with 36 laps on the board. Mike Eddy, your leader, but here comes Mike Garvey. Garvey started 6th. He's been the big mover here in the early going. Eddy jumped from the pole and has led all the way so far. Garvey will take a look outside. He doesn't have enough this time by, but I think Garvey's got an awful fast race car today.
Real good race car. And I'm kind of surprised because Garvey's the kind of person that likes to run on the bottom. And there he is looking at the top.
You're clear.
On board the Tecumseh Chevrolet with Garvey, who won the 300 lapper at the Minnesota State Fair last Monday here on TNN, if you were with us. Mike Eddy out in front of the 88 car, the DuPont Chevrolet from the Eiten stables. Garvey going to the high side. There are ripples mostly halfway through 1 and 2. Right in the middle, you can either go below them or you can go way above them or try to straddle, but it's a tough place. And many of the drivers we spoke to this morning say that as the afternoon wears on, the sun is shining brightly. It's not extremely hot today, but track temperatures will rise because it is bright and sunny. Could be a problem a little later on. Greg Stewart, first car behind the wall, not necessarily done for the day, though, Brian Drever.
No, Alan Massengell and the Keener Lumber Company crew are working awful hard, and they're getting some help from Arlie Wood next door and the McDonald's guys. But Greg Stewart, first of all, what happened? Are you okay, and can you get back in?
Yeah, backed into the pit wall pretty hard. It kind of got a headache over it. The track's real loose today. Everybody in front of me was loose. I was loose. Somebody spun in front of me, and I got on the binders, on the brakes real hard and spun it out and back into the pit wall.
Can you get back in?
Yeah, we're going to get back in. It knocked the battery loose, and they're trying to get the battery mounted back in there. And the car wouldn't start because the battery cables were, it got pinched between the chassis and the battery. So Alan and them's going to get it back. I just want to thank everybody that came to help us this weekend. We've had a time this year, and maybe our luck will come together for Orange County when we go back home.
Good luck.
Greg Stewart from 4 Oaks, North Carolina, started 20th today, waiting for battery repairs to be completed on that car. Mike Garvey giving Mike Eddy all he wants here in the early going. 42 of 400 laps complete. Jump on board. We've got a driver camera on Garvey today. Look at that. Not a lot of hand movement there. That car's working pretty well, Butch.
If they would have had that camera on him about 15 seconds ago coming off of turn 4, you'd have seen that thing all the way to the lock on the right.
Garvey working that tough part of the racetrack up in 1 and 2. Now, I rode around here with Mike Miller this morning. He says 3 and 4 is a nice, normal, smooth corner, pretty easy and fast. 1 and 2 is where you'll really make hay if you're good this afternoon.
Well, he won his fourth pole by actually taking a qualifying lap where he was able to straddle some of the bumps, and he said, that's kind of cool, where I knew where the bumps were and I missed them and I got on the gas a lot sooner. He was surprised by how good his lap was, but he knew it was going to be good when he got cleanly through 1 and 2.
Take a look back. Tim Sauter has come to third. Here's Miller in the 18 car. He is fourth. Dave Sensiba, Gary St. Amant right with him on board the Jana King Pontiac. Looking back at the cars dueling for position there, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Jimmy Johnson is right in the hunt as well. Now remember, Johnson is the other driver with that $10,000 Jana King Triple Crown Challenge money up for grabs today. Right now, Miller able to hang on to the position ahead of Sensiba, but he's not protecting the bottom. He's telling me, he's obviously from the way he's driving, he wants to run that second group, but you're leaving a lot of room down there for other cars to go by.
But if they can't use that other room, you know, if they can't, and what it amounts to is there's so many bumps coming off that second corner that you can't get the forward bite. Where in the top it's nice and smooth, you get that good traction off the corner, and it actually gives you another 2 or 3 miles an hour down the straightaway. That's what makes it so hard in the bottom group.
Miller, though, giving up ground on the outside that time. Sensiba and St. Amant, and now Jimmy Johnson going by. And look at this, Garvey now pressuring Eddie for the #1 position. Coming up on lap 50 here very shortly. Your leaders, Eddie in the DuPont 88, Garvey in the Tecumseh Chevrolet, the 1 car right behind him in second, and Garvey taking a look both high and low on the Chevrolet being wheeled today by Mike Eddy. So good battle for the top spot here at Jennerstown. Tim Sauter pretty much all alone in third, about 3 seconds back. And then you've got that great battle. Sensiba for the moment we saw take over 4th spot. St. Amant, Jimmy Johnson, and then Mike Miller being shuffled all the way back to 7th. So Sauter undoubtedly looking in his mirror thinking, hey, if I can get up and challenge these 2 guys and make a race out of this thing, I've got a chance to gain ground in the points, and that's what he needs to do to tighten up this national championship battle over the next 3 races, last 3 of the season. Eddie just jumping on the tour at La Crosse with that amazing win several weeks ago, showing everybody didn't lose a thing in an 8 or 9 month layoff.
And he had about 20 laps on Saturday of that race weekend. Said, I guess the car is good enough. I haven't really forgotten anything. I'll go racing. And I talked to him Sunday morning. He was real relaxed. Talked to him this morning, smiling, sitting on the pit wall, not worrying about touching anything on the car. It's like, hey, I just came here to race, and these guys will work on it. I'm sure it'll be a good car. And that relaxation, again, has Mike Eddy, a very, very tough competitor, and I think has the competition worried here today.
Now take a look at this group of cars. Tristan Dupuis in 11th, in the 11th car is riding 15th. Back there at 19th spot is Ted Smokestad in the Laser Project car with a big LS1 on the hood and the side. Now that's the wave of the future here in ASA competition. Next year, the motor in that car will be a spec motor. All cars will use the GM Laser V8, the LS1 V8 as it's called, with fuel injection, with computer controlled ignition and so forth. Much different from the V6s that are currently used in the series. And another test run for that car here this afternoon.
The neat thing about it is they've got a chance to run this car probably more than they wanted to. They had 3,000 miles on the car. The engine was in a race car, single car qualifying, as you will, for 300, 400, 500 laps on a given course in Lakeland, Florida, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This being the 4th opportunity to have the car in competition gives them a whole different parameter and a whole different grid to read from, because you have the rubber buildup from the front of the grid. You've got a bunch of things that consider that in competition, that's the only way you can really find out, and I think it's a great way to test this engine.
On board the Grease Lightning Chevrolet, Ken Alexander getting lapped by the top 2 runners, the 88 of Eddie and the 1 of Garvey. Ken moves over, lets him roll by. 54 laps are on the board. Eddie with a comfortable lead. He stretched it back out to about half a second over Garvey, which on a short track is a sizable advantage. Tim Sauter a little further back, another 3 seconds back in third, so he hasn't really been able to run down the leaders so far. Last week in Minnesota, we saw a lot of tire changes. Today, these teams are limited to 16 tires once again, although as cars fall out, more tires may become available depending on what sort of deals can be made with various teams. We were hearing from the teams this morning, they weren't very worried about tire wear here. The new tires only help you for a few laps.
Well, that's true. Last week at Minnesota, we saw where the tires just continually dropped off from the beginning of the run to the end of the run. So 70-lap tires were faster than 80-lap tires, and so on. Well, here, after 10 laps, all tires are equal till they're wore out.
Garvey refusing to give up on Eddie. This is for the lead through 3 and 4, and Garvey's going to take a look down low. Draws up on the 88 car. There's lap traffic ahead, though. Tom Harrington in the 8 car, one of the machines up there. The 97 car in that mix as well, and the 04. Jack Gritter from Zeeland, Michigan, in that white number 97. Harrington down low in the black 8. He ran very well earlier this year at Memphis Motorsports Park. Led some laps there when we were there on TNN Motorsports. On board with Garvey, running second behind Eddie, starting to work the lap traffic now down the back straightaway. The 04 Jack Smith from Seville, Ohio, moves up into the second groove, let the leaders by. Harrington, though, doesn't want to go a lap down. Normally, he is a very good driver, and that's a pretty strong race car. Former Mike Eddy machine. He wants to stay on the lead lap if at all possible, but it looks like he'll give it up to Eddie as they work turn 2.
He and Eddie are close friends, and Eddie still helps that team with setups. The Young Motorsports team, just the first-year effort. Mike Eddy was on the phone with them and maybe kept in touch of the setups of the season before winning in his first appearance on the cross.
Eddie and Garvey roll by Harrington, drop him a lap down. They are still out in front. 60 complete of 400 today under sun-splashed skies at Jennerstown Speedway in Pennsylvania. Garvey to the top side, looked to go around Eddie, couldn't quite get enough of a jump off of the second corner. Eddie hangs on to the lead. But you're not even 100 laps on the board here. If you're Mike Eddy, are you worrying about protecting the top spot here, or are you just riding?
Mike Eddy doesn't care much about anything except for staying out front. Right now, he doesn't have points to worry about. He doesn't have anything else to worry about. All he cares about is one thing, winning that race. And whatever it takes to do that, that's what Mike Eddy's going to do.
He's got Garvey solidly locked in his mirrors at the moment. He'll go low under Alec Pinsino to put him a lap down. Eddie maintains the advantage. Garvey will go way low. That's beneath where those bumps are, up in 1 and 2, but down below the yellow line. Eddie up onto the backstretch, the race leader. Started on the pole today after flipping positions with quick qualifier Mike Miller. Miller stuck back live at Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. The Pontiac Excitement 400 for the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series presented by Jennerstown Commercial Cleaning Services. Caution for the second time today on lap 65. David Anspaugh in the first aid Chevrolet, the 37 car, looping up between turns 3 and 4. Had a scary moment because Mike Miller, everybody was slowing down, getting by, and Mike Miller got up to him and at the last moment decided to make a hard right and go to the outside of the car and almost didn't make it there. Out of the lead cars on pit road. First time this afternoon for some tire work and so forth. Dave Sensiba will be the first of this group back out. The 52 of Derek Gilchrist and the 40 Brandon Sperling in the McDonald's machine. Let's get downstairs to Brian Drebber.
Well, guys, most of the lead lap cars stayed out there, but as you mentioned, some did come in for service. Tires are going to be an issue here today, and there's no question about that. So some teams choosing to change them early. Tim Taylor on the EMAS number 28 came in to change tires. Now we're getting a little bit more activity down here. The 00 of Andy Ponstein comes in, and Alec Pinsino at the pit entrance. He's pitted right next to Tim Sauter. And tires are going to be an issue for those two teams. That may be something we're thinking about a little bit later on, too, how these two-car teams may have an advantage here today.
Ponstein with the 00, getting left side tires. Anspaugh back on the racetrack after that spin that brought out the yellow flag. And we'll take a look at what happened going down into turn 3. Lap traffic as the leaders move up, and Anspaugh just had to get away from him, it looks like. Almost collected Eddie there.
The first close call was for the leaders of the race, and then we'll see Mike Miller come in here.
We're on board here with Mike Garvey. We'll get a look at it. Anspaugh is the black back in there in front of the yellow car. Whoa.
Maybe a little help.
Yeah, looks like thrust tunnel, maybe not. He wanted to get out of the way of the leaders, but Anspaugh was going a bit slower than he was heading into turn 3.
Anspaugh went around and everybody able to get by safely, but it was a brief moment of a close call. Still under caution at Jennerstown. We'll take a quick timeout and come right back for more ASA action. Back live, Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. The ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN Motorsports. And a great battle for the top spot. Mike Eddy, the leader in the DuPont Chevrolet, the 88 car, but Mike Garvey's right there in the Tecumseh number 1. On board Garvey down the back straightaway. Coming up on lap 75 of 400 this time by. Eddy has led since the drop of the green. Garvey's got all kinds of room down low, but as we mentioned, looks like the second groove, the second lane on the racetrack is a little quicker here. Look at Garvey. He takes a slide into Eddy. Eddy goes around and bounces off the wall. Caution waving once again. Garvey went bonsaiing down into turn 1 to try to take over the top spot. Cooked it a little bit sideways, clipped into Eddy's left rear and turned him around. So we're under caution as you get a look at Mike Garvey in the seat of the Tecumseh Chevrolet shaking his head. He did not want that to happen this early in the afternoon.
Still a bit loose, going off. 10-4.
Mike telling his crew were told that it was his fault. He puts the hand up, downshifts, and he gets a gear in the 88 car and rolls away. He did bounce into the concrete. Looks like he's got pretty heavy front end damage. Looks like he's got a little toe out problem with the 88 machine. Oh boy, big time. So things are broken up front and the DuPont Chevrolet. Eddie will come down to the backstretch road, try to drive the car around. As we mentioned, he's not racing for points. He is racing for bonus money. This thing won't turn. Mike jumps it in reverse. He went a place that he didn't want to go. Wanted to drive through the back pit road to come to the attention of his crew, I believe. But the car won't steer. He went off the road into the gravel, and now he's stuck.
The worst part about that spin is when Mike Eddy spun, he almost had it saved, and the right front knocked the wall, and it knocked the steering out of the 88 DuPont Chevrolet.
Safety crew members there. They're going to pop the hood pins on the car. Eddie is losing laps, and with them, undoubtedly, his chance to win today. We'll come back and cover the story at Jennerstown. Back at Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania, the Pontiac Excitement 400, presented by Jennerstown Commercial Cleaning Services. And there you get the story. Mike Eddy with the helmet off, apparently deciding he's done for the afternoon. Let's take another look down into one. Garvey with a bonsai charge, trying for the lead. Instead takes out the 88 car.
They had pretty much touched wheels front to rear, but here's where the damage is incurred. Bang, right there is where they knocked the steering out of it. Eddie might have been able to save it otherwise.
Garvey apologizing, we're told on the radio. Looks as though it just got away from it, Butch Miller.
That's what happened. And, you know, Mike Eddy is one of the few drivers out here that actually drives without power steering, wants the feel of the car. I believe this is one case where if he'd have had that power steering in there, he could have got that wheel back left again quick enough to save it from hitting the wall.
So Garvey is your restart leader. Eddie's behind the wall with a broken front end. Don't know if the car will return or not. Mike not in the points chase, running only part-time here in 1999. He had the bonus money to go for today. The Janet King Triple Crown Challenge worth $10,000. If he can score the win here today, his chances go away on lap number 80. Green and going again. The 9 of Sauter up to second now behind Garvey's machine. Mike going for 2 straight wins after last Monday's victory in Minnesota. Gary St. Amant is third. Jimmy Johnson is fourth. Get a look back at those machines. St. Amant's car with the orange nose. That's the Wins Chevrolet. Rick Beebe has come from 10th to 5th in the yellow car. The 23 back there, the Meyer Stores Chevrolet. You got Jack Landis. Matt Hagan's with a good run in 7th. Ricky Johnson's up to 8th. Dave Sensiba back to 9th. Derek Gilchrist is 10th. What about the series point leader, Mike Miller? He's mired back at 15th spot. Problems for Mike Miller here in the early going. Not even 100 laps on the board yet. Landis now to the inside of Beebe. This is for 5th position. Landis drives through down low. One of the few cars able to make it work on the bottom side here so far. Beebe comes back at him, though, down the back straightaway. Landis will try this one more time. Beebe has 5th. Landis not quite there this time by. We saw how treacherous those bumps were a moment ago. We talked about that part of the racetrack. We saw the situation with Garvey and Eddie. Garvey got in there a little too hot, and the bumps evidently helped upset the car and take out the race leader. You hate to see that happen. Garvey takes advantage. He scooted away to nearly a second's worth of lead over Tim Sauter now, but great battles all around the racetrack here in Jennerstown.
What we noticed here is when Jack Landis is on the bottom, he is low and stays low. Garvey had so much momentum and so much, as you mentioned, bonsai maneuvering going into turn 1. It made him drift up. Landis, who finished second here to Mike Eddy last fall for his career best finish, is able to stay on the bottom and able to stay and run even with Beebe through the corners.
Still battling up in 1 and 2, but Beebe's got a good thing going on the high side. His car is pretty quick up there. Beebe started 10th today, on the move up to 5th right now. Jimmy Johnson in the 44 car would be next up ahead. Dave Sensiba now gets into the mix in the 6 car. Sensiba was strong early on, backpedaled a little bit, but now he's starting to rumble again, come up toward the front of the field. He goes inside Landis. Landis moves up behind Beebe now to follow him. That's Beebe in the yellow 23. Good run at Salem back in July. Saturday night show here on TNN Motorsports, if you were with us then. Landis trying to challenge Beebe, takes the better of it, drops back in behind the 23, but that opens the door for the white number 6 of Dave Sensiba. So Sensiba coming through. He wants 6th. He's got it away from Landis. Beebe has 5th. There's Garvey, your leader, in the black number 1. St. Amant now putting pressure on Sauter for second. Sauter does not want to see this. He needs to get clear of this battle and go up and challenge for the lead. Jimmy Johnson goes up high now behind St. Amant. Looks like the outside lane's really starting to come in, Butch Miller.
It really is. But I don't know if that's so much the outside lanes coming in, is that all that bouncing around keeps knocking the tires off the ground. And then when they get knocked off the ground, they spin a little bit. So you actually, it makes more wheel spin on the bottom than it does the top.
So St. Amant clears that battle, moves up to second spot. Gary is second with 2 victories this year. In the top 5 in series points. Jimmy Johnson rides third. Sauter is fourth. The guy who led the first 80 laps today is behind the wall with our Brian Drummond.
Mike Eddy standing down here. Mike, you've already surveyed the damage. Give us the report.
Well, kind of screwed up the front suspension a little, so guess we're done for the day. You know, we're not running for points, so that took our chance of winning away.
What happened?
Well, Mike was there, and I gave him a lot of room. I guess you just can't trust him.
Are you going to come back and race any more this season? I mean, maybe a little less incentive, but there are a couple more left.
No, I got real good incentive to come back next week now.
All right. There you have it, folks.
Does that mean there'll be a bullseye on the back end of the Tecumseh Chevrolet next week in Cedar Rapids?
Well, Mark Garvey has led the most laps all year. He's going to pray for a better qualified run than Mike Eddy and just stay ahead of him all day.
That sets up a lot of fun and excitement. We'll be with you one more time this year on TNN Motorsports, the ASA season finale, Saturday afternoon, October 2nd, at Orange County Speedway up in Rougemont, North Carolina, not far from our home base of Charlotte. Looking forward to bringing you that action as well. Mike Miller trying to get close to the front here as we get close to 100 laps. Miller to the inside of Tom Harrington's lap car. That's the 8th. 77 of Dave Doran is 12th, and Miller is 13th. Now he's come back up, gained a couple of spots here, but Mike Miller's car not running the way he would like it to. He's talked the last several weeks. He's the point leader. He's been the point leader most of the season. He says he's running to win. Sure looks to me as though he's starting to run for points more than victories.
How we saw him back off earlier on the race where he was running in the 4th position or 5th and backed off and let 3 guys go by on the inside. That's playing it somewhat conservative. And Butch, as you mentioned during one of the commercial breaks, that's not the same Mike Miller we've seen in the past. He has 5 wins this year, but once that point championship started rolling in and he was keeping the lead, I think he's starting to think about 1999 being a championship season.
With $100,000 on the line for the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Championship, that's certainly a lot of incentive to protect what you have, but sometimes you can get too conservative. As we saw at the top of the broadcast, there have been many cases in ASA history where the point lead has changed with 3 races to go.
And for example, when Jim Sauter lost the title in 1984, excuse me, it was Bob Seneca right there. It was Mike Eddy right there. Mike Eddy won the championship, but Sauter had that lead, had problems late in the season, so not only can he run too conservative, but a DNF and running conservative can be dually costly, because if he's running back in 24th, that brings about all those options of running with less experienced drivers just to finish the race. It may create more problems than it's worth.
Watching rookie contender Tristan Dupuis. That's the yellow number 11 car. He is behind the 5 of Eddie Hoffman. They are 15th and 16th. Russ Tuttle back in the mix as well. He is 14th. You're on board with Mike Miller in the Jana King Pontiac. We're talking about Miller. Fast qualifier here this weekend. Elected to start outside the front row. It's the pole sitter's choice, pole winner's choice. Mike Eddy took the inside of the front row. If you're just joining us, jumped off into the early lead, led the first 80 laps. And he and Mike Garvey got together up between turns 1 and 2. Eddy bounced off the wall. He's done for the day. Garvey's your leader. Mike Miller, though, has dropped anchor. He has backpedaled heavily to 14th spot. Brian Drever, what's going on down there in the 18 pits?
Well, if you talk to the crew guys, there's no panic whatsoever down here. Crew chief Carl Hyland standing on top of the wagon like he always is. Chris is sitting down in a chair behind him, and everybody's just hanging out. And they say Mike Miller has just got his little jodhpurs on, and he's riding.
So Miller will swing to the outside of the 97 car, not on the same lap. Mike riding along now in 13th spot. Dave Doran is directly behind him now, so Mike actually has picked up 12th. Ricky Johnson is ahead in 11th. Miller's starting to rumble. The traffic's starting to thin a little bit now as we get past the 100 lap mark. 102 complete of 400 here this afternoon at Jennerstown. Your race leader is Mike Garvey on the Tecumseh Chevrolet. Winner last Monday at Minnesota. We've talked many times this year about how that team has had horrendous luck. This time, the bad luck seems to have gone to another contender. Mike Eddy taking the shot from Garvey, unintentional was certain. And into the wall up in turn 2, costing him the lead and his afternoon. Battle for second. Jimmy Johnson in the 44, up behind Gary St. Amant, the 1998 Series champion. St. Amant is second. Johnson is third, up from 7th starting spot. He's the guy now who can win the bonus money.
Speaking of incentive, he'll get a $10,000 check if he wins 2 of the 3 Jana King Triple Crown races, but also considering he's got added incentive because Mike Eddy, the dominator here at Jennerstown's out of the show. He now can go for that extra effort. Not only is it a points championship, but that 10 grand could mean a lot. Nice victory lane photograph, 2nd win of the season, and Jimmy Johnson, who is destined and bound for the Busch Series next year, wants to carry great momentum in his 2000 season.
Jimmy Johnson, a young gun of whom great things are expected. So impressive at Milwaukee in the NASCAR Busch Car National Series back on the 4th of July weekend. Ran 7th on the mile there in a Busch car for the Herzog team. Gary St. Amant, a true pro. One of the ASA's leading lights for a long, long time. Won the title, of course, last year. Not out of it yet this year by any means, but he needs a couple of wins in these last 3 rounds, and he needs some serious difficulty to befall the drivers in front of him, specifically Mike Miller and Tim Sauter, if he's going to get into contention. Right now, he's got his hands full. Jimmy Johnson decides, hey, I'll try that bottom side, see if I can make it work for me in the Pennzoil Chevrolet, working around Tim Taylor, another rookie, the EMAS Chevrolet, the 28 car. St. Amant second. Johnson is third. 107 complete here at Jennerstown. It's a great place to come. This is a track that's been around for many, many decades in the Lasky family. It was dirt for a long time. They paved it years ago. ASA has been coming here for, I guess, about 10 years now. It's a place that is as pretty as any short track you will find, and we are pleased to be here this afternoon. Race lead in the hands of Mike Garvey. He's shown his machine to be the dominant car here early on, but Mike Miller's team just hanging by, watching how this one develops at Jennerstown. Speedway at Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. The Pontiac Excitement 400 presented by Jennerstown Cleaning Services. Mike Garvey in the 1 car is your leader. Lapping by Pierre Goulet's machine in the 43 car. He's got almost a 3-second lead over Gary St. Amant, but trouble for the series point leader, Mike Miller, who was the quick qualifier this weekend, onto pit road. They raised the hood on the Jennerstown Pontiac. Serious engine problems, we're told. The car has gone behind the wall. Send downstairs to Brian Drever, find out what the situation is with the Mike Miller machine.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of frantic activity around here. They said that the mandrel bolt holding the bottom of the crankshaft pulley at the front of the engine came off, and that would appear to be terminal. Now they've got a belt, and it looks like it's a belt that's off. So naturally, the crew is still scrambling around, and Mike Miller is trying to analyze the situation over there with the man who is usually his tire specialist, Jim Duffy, while the rest of the crew is looking very close and hard under the hood. They cannot afford the DNF. That feared snake has come up and bit them here, maybe.
18th race of the 20 race season. Mike Miller's point lead over Tim Sauter under 100 markers, and Sauter right now is 4th as he works around Tom Harrington's lap car. The 34 and the 04 also lap machines. Sauter pretty much running by himself. Started 5th, sitting 4th, working traffic up in turns 3 and 4. If he can come on and win, and Miller spends the rest of the afternoon behind the wall, that could indeed cost Mike Miller the point lead. Not the circumstances. We wanted to welcome Jerry Crawford to the broadcast today, the president of Jennerstown International. Jerry, welcome to TNN Motorsports. Your driver having a tough day.
Well, he is. He's got a problem. We hope he'll be back out on the track soon. He's competitive, and we want Mike back out there real soon.
We'll talk more to you in a second. We've got trouble on the speedway, a spin up in turn 4. Ted Smokestad moving by in the GM project car, the LS1 V8. The 49 car, that's Matt Hagan's machine, the Medallion Tortilla Chips car. Someone's lost part of a tire up between 3 and 4, so all sorts of excitement happening. 4th caution of the afternoon on the 121st of 400 laps. There's another car stopped. It's Hagan's machine up between 3 and 4. Smokestad with some body damage to the laser car as he works back around the speedway under caution. I'll try to show it to you here one more time. Tons of excitement here on TNN Motorsports. The leader is Mike Garvey. Gary St. Amant second. Jimmy Johnson third. They will stop for tires. Right side's going on the 1 car. Rest of the field comes down pit road. Brian Drever, Gary St. Amant's crew goes to work.
Well, and these guys are always good at what they do. They take the right side of the car up. Fuel's going in. Harold Fair pulls in behind him, and he doesn't have a lot of room to do what his crew has to do. We said they're fast. Gary St. Amant's guys have gone already, and he almost collected Mike Garvey in the process.
They did bump. It appeared that St. Amant did get into Garvey very, very lightly as they came back onto the racetrack. Didn't look like it did any damage to either car, but looked like Gary just brushed the 1 car as they came out off of pit road. So Garvey back out on the racetrack. We'll show you what happened one more time as they came off pit road. There's St. Amant just tagging the driver's side of Garvey. So you had Garvey get into Eddie. Now St. Amant into Garvey, but this was under caution coming off pit road. Doesn't look as though either car was heavily damaged. You can see the 1 car, though, with some marks on the bodywork on the driver's side. Smokestad brings the LS1 car down pit road with some fiberglass flapping on the left front corner. The crew will come around, take a look at the tire wear on the left rear. Brian Drever.
Well, they're pitting in Mike Eddy's vacant stall now, which is a break for these guys because they had been back in the back road pits. So at least they get a chance to pit here among lead lap cars, even though they don't pit with them.
Smokestad sitting 18th at the moment, 2 laps down to the leaders. Alec Pinsino stops coming off pit road. Smokestad goes by him. They elect not to pull the bodywork away. Pinsino looks like the 93 car has stalled. So we went 100 laps cleanly pretty much. Now we've got all kinds of excitement break out here just in the last 10 or 15 laps. Pinsino stopping. That is at the entrance to the first turn, coming off of pit road where the Montplace Chevrolet sits at the moment. Russ Tuttle gets picked up by the pace car as your race leader. What a story that is, because Tuttle, of course, had that problem yesterday, crashing in practice. They thrashed on the car, got him back in time to qualify, and Russ is being shown at the top of the class. Now, let's bring back our guest, Jerry Crawford, the president of Janet King International. Tell us about Janet King's involvement in ASA racing. This has been a big thing for the series and for your company.
Well, it has, Rick, and I just want to thank ASA for the opportunity to be here today. And on behalf of Jim Cavanaugh, our CEO and founder, and more than 7,500 franchisees around the world, I'd like to thank them for our efforts making Janet King the world's largest #1 rated franchise commercial cleaning company. Their commitment to a winning program, just like race fans' commitment to racing, has made it the greatest spectator sport in the world. We're just proud to be here, and we're proud to be a sponsor of ASA Racing, Rick.
We appreciate having you stop by today. Jerry Crawford, the president of Janet King International. Mike Miller's Janet King Pontiac, still working on the engine of that machine down in the garage area, trying to get the series point leader back in action here today. Still under caution at Jennerstown. We'll be around Pennsylvania. The ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN Motorsports. 1 lap till the green. Dan Spence in the flag stand here at Jennerstown, indicating that to the ASA official pace car, the Pontiac Grand Prix, and the field. And Russ Tuttle in the 16 will be your restart leader. But Brian Drebber, what's the situation with Mike Miller's machine?
Well, the offending part is a pulley on the front of the crankshaft held on by a long bolt right down the center. Part of that bolt broke off in the motor. They can change the part, but first they have to get the broken piece out of the front of the engine. And of course, Mike Miller, very actively involved, has been working as hard as anybody over here. Mike, can you get it fixed?
I have no clue. Must have been a bad bolt. Stuff on the Janet King Pontiac. You know, we didn't have the best car, but DNF is going to be very serious at this point.
Your worst nightmare has actually come true right here. You know, nobody thought it would happen, but you thought it could happen.
Yeah, I never figured this thing was even close to over, and obviously my thinking is correct at this point.
Well, good luck to you and the rest of the crew in trying to get it worked out. Mike Miller, of course, standing by while, you know, everybody's working on the car right now. Nobody's shirking on this duty. They want to get back out there in the worst kind of way. Even a few points are important.
Heavy action up in 1 and 2. Russ Tuttle in the 16, your leader, but the 1 of Garvey to the outside. Lap car Tim Taylor in the middle, picking Tuttle. Here comes Saint-Amant to the outside. Tuttle now second. Your leader once again is Garvey. Saint-Amant will roll into second spot around Tuttle, and Sauter will move around him as well for third. Tuttle needs to get to the outside, get around the 28 car, but he's stuck there. He's getting freight trained as we take a look out the back door of Garvey's Tecumseh Chevrolet. Now Miller. Tuttle will go to the outside of Taylor. Here's Tristan Dupuis in the 11 to the outside. Don't think Tuttle stopped for tires on that cycle. He got the lead, got the bonus for being out front, but it's going to cost him heavily now as we're back under green.
He is the only driver on lead lap that did not fit that time under caution.
Remember, there is a tire limit. 16 tires the max here today. Most teams have made 1 tire stop. 132 laps complete. They should be okay, barring something unforeseen, but the unforeseen has happened to series point leader Mike Miller. If you're just joining us, Miller started as the fast qualifier, backpedaled around 15th spot, rode there, was starting to come back to the front, broke a motor bolt up front. His team is trying to get the bolt out of the engine so they can replace the pulley in the bolt and get Miller back out of the racetrack, but this could deliver a big advantage to Tim Sauter, second in points, less than 100 behind. Ken Alexander in the 03 trying to get back, get a couple of laps back. Rick Beebe in the 23 and Jimmy Johnson in the 44 battling for fourth. The 03 a couple of laps down right now. Beebe has the spot. You're on board the Alexander machine as Johnson rolls by on the outside, and he'll go inside Beebe's car down in 1. Battling for fourth position. Alexander back in 20th. He is shown 3 laps behind the leaders at the moment. Johnson now working the low groove. First guy we've seen in a while to make ground on the low side here at Jennerstown. He'll go by Beebe, take over fourth position. Tim Sauter is directly ahead in third. Saint-Amant is second. Your leader is still Garvey. Remember, Jimmy Johnson has that bonus money from Janneking International in front of him. Second place, the battle tightening up. Sauter in the 9 is third. The black and orange 7 of St. Amant is second. He's running up high. Sauter saves ground on the inside, and he'll make a move. But Gary gets that good jump off of 2 and reestablishes the spot.
He almost looked like he was on the edge, Butch, and I'm sure here you have to run on the edge, but on the outside line as they exit, Gary's got enough freedom there to keep ahead of Sauter, who's pitching off on the bottom.
Our race recap after 130 laps, 3 different leaders so far with 3 lead changes, 4 cautions worth 30 laps, and right now we're showing 14 cars on the lead lap. And Mike Eddy behind the wall, Greg Usher, Mike Miller at the moment, and a spin. Andy Ponstein in the 00 car looping. That's up out of turn 2, so we're under caution once again for the 5th time this afternoon. Ponstein in that good-looking 00 car. He's got a tire donut there on the driver's door. Might have been part of the skirmish. He loops it, trying to get it refired up between 1 and 2, and that will bring everyone under caution once again here today. Russ Tuttle, meantime, with a cut-down tire on the right rear of the Tyson Foods machine. He's going to have to bring that car onto pit road. There was trouble as well in the last cycle for rookie point leader Ricky Johnson. Came onto pit road with some tire difficulties. We'll try to get you an update on the 22 car. Johnson with that good 3rd going Monday at Minnesota State Fair. Mistook the white flag for the checkered and lost a couple of spots. Backed out of the gas on the last lap and ended up 6th. Gary St. Amant to pit road. He'll take on left side tires. But Gibb and crew going to work on the 7 car. And here comes Russ Tuttle. Brian Drebber, they got some work to do back there.
Well, they got right side tires ready to go, and around they go as they get the car up on the right side of the car there. The tires are going on, and of course this caution was at a very opportune moment for Russ Tuttle and the crew of the Tyson Chevrolet. They needed it bad, and they got it.
Still working on the right rear. They dropped the jack, and the Marion County Sheriff's deputy is back on the racetrack. Tuttle down and away. He'll return to the racetrack back quite a way. I'll show you what happened up between 1 and 2. Tuttle looked like he did get clipped by the 00 as Ponstein spun. May have cut that tire, caught him right in that area.
Ponstein looked to be about in the 3rd groove out, and I don't think there's enough rubber down out there, and he got loose.
So we're under caution. The 1 of Mike Garvey will be your restart leader. 141 of 400 laps are on the board here at Jennerstown. Lots of ways you can enjoy action here in Pennsylvania. Fans enjoying a sunny afternoon here at Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania, and what they call the Laurel Highlands of southeastern Pennsylvania. The Pontiac Excitement 400 today for the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series. 144 laps complete. Mike Garvey in the 1 is your restart leader, but Derek Gilchrist, who stayed out on the racetrack, is up to 2nd. 3 wins this year for the Ken Schrader Racing 52 car. Gilchrist has a good run going here today. Eddie Hoffman stayed out as well. He's up to 3rd in the 5 car. Tristan Dupuis doing the same thing. He is 4th in the 11. So we're back underway, and we'll see if Gilchrist has anything to show here. The 3 wins this year, you know that's a good race car, and Derek is a fine young driver.
And really, he's made an adjustment. He used to run all-pro series, a lot of high-bank, small racetracks, 100-lap races, 125 laps. To make a 300-lap or even today a 400-lap grind, especially on a flat track, it's made Derek Gilchrist, I believe, a better race driver.
Derek with his eyes on the NASCAR Busch Series next season. All indications are he's going to be running for MB2 Motorsports. That's the M&M's Pontiac team that they're going to start a Busch Series operation come the new season, and Derek is likely to be their driver. Eddie Hoffman runs 3rd. Gilchrist from 13th to 2nd. A good run going today in the Schrader 52. Crew Chief Robert Hamke. 5 car of Hoffman. He has been stout at various places this year. Has not yet broken through with his first career win. And the 11 of Tristan Dupuis, 2nd in rookie points. An excellent season for that young driver as well. Gary St. Amant, who did stop on the last cycle, starting to make a move. Tim Sauter came in. And how about Dave Doran in the 77? 7th he is in the running order. He's had a good afternoon so far.
One of the cars that did not pit this most recent cycle, but he came in twice the last caution to get that list of Pontiac figured out just right. He's having a great run in his rookie season, looking for his 2nd top 10 finish.
Doran, the brother of Kevin Doran, you know the name because he fields terrifically competitive Indy Racing League machinery and also very competitive World Sports Car machinery. And we were talking about going to Road Atlanta next weekend for the Petit Le Mans. He'll field the Pontiac, or rather the Ferrari team. He has a 2-car team that he takes care of. List of the sponsor of that equipment as well. So Doran out of turn 2, doing a nice job. Behind him is Jimmy Johnson, back in 10th now after the pit stop cycle. Rick Beebe in the mix as well. Beebe is 9th. Johnson 10th, and they are door-to-door for that spot as they work out of turn 4. Here comes Dave Sensiba. Some of these cars that did fit trying to race their way back to the front now as we get a little closer to halfway. 151 laps are on the board. Up a little further, Harold Fair in the 81 with a good run going. He is up challenging Tristan Dupuis for 4th. And there's Ted Smokestad in the Project 2000, the laser car that's got the LS1 on it. Still has that little flap of bodywork hanging off the right corner after that contact during an earlier spin. I think that may be decal work that's hanging off there rather than actual bodywork, but Smokestad deciding to stay out on the racetrack. Now, he's able to pit on the front stretch. He's a lap down. First car 1 lap down in 15. How about Harold Fair, though? 21st to 5th here in the first 150 laps.
What a way to spend your 53rd birthday. Harold Fair, the diesel repair specialist, Pontiac, up in the top 5. Again, that out-of-pit sequence would say Gary St. Amant at this point, but he's holding pretty strong in the top 5.
Harold's run 3rd here a couple of seasons back, likes the racetrack. He's been on just about every racetrack you can think of in the Midwest and East. There's Stan Dupuis and Eddie Hoffman battling it out for 3rd. Hoffman with the spot. Dupuis trying to work that low groove and take the position away. The Go-Go Auto Parts Freshetta Foods machine for Dupuis today. Good effort for that team here this weekend. Contenders in the series. In fact, you've got first-year drivers occupying the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place positions right now. Oh, Dupuis with contact with Hoffman. Dupuis wiggles the car, gets it straightened out. Hoffman scoots away, and he takes clear possession of 4th spot. Gary St. Amant takes advantage to go by both of those cars, so puts St. Amant up in 3rd now. Hoffman stays 4th. Dupuis drops all the way back to 5th. Very costly bobble, and look at Tim Sauter in the 9. Sauter very quick with fresh rubber on the Montplace Chevrolet. He'll go to the inside of Dupuis for 5th now. So Sauter starting to rumble. He's got a great opportunity to gain tons of ground. Mike Miller being shown 31st. He is still behind the wall. They have not yet been able to fix the motor on the 18 car, so Sauter could gain an incredible amount of ground here today if he can claim a top 3 finish, or if he can get going and come up and contend for the win.
Even a solid top 5 will give him great distance, even on Jimmy Johnson in the point standings. As if Sauter finishes ahead of Johnson, they will both gain immensely on Mike Miller, the point leader behind the wall with motor problems. Other cars behind him with problems. Mike Eddy with a steering problem. Greg Usher dropped out early with mechanical problems. But other than that, everybody else still on course with the exception of the point leader, Mike Miller.
The 9 of Sauter 4th. Hoffman is 5th in the 5. This is the contact a moment ago going 8-1 between Dupuis and the 5 of Hoffman. Almost a carbon copy of what happened between Mike Garvey and Mike Eddy.
And Butch, these are 2 rookie drivers. Not saying that Garvey and Eddy, they were in a different circumstance, but that was a pretty veteran move holding onto that car.
Was. Both of them did a really good job. The 11 car made a nice save because actually he got pinched down across the apron there going in. It was a little different than the first wreck we saw, but Hoffman did a great job saving that car.
Battle for 2nd heating up. Derek Gilchrist has the spot. Gary St. Amant of the 7 car wants it. Gilchrist up high in the Grease Lightning Chevrolet, the 52 car. Gary St. Amant running hard. Now, Gary's not out of this point thing either. Solidly in the top 5. If he can score a win today, he can make huge hay as we come down to the last couple of weeks of the season.
We mentioned once, but it's worth mentioning again, last season when Gary St. Amant clinched the championship, he did it with 5 straight podium finishes to end the year. He has a very strong finishing record for the API team and wins. This team itself is very much a gelling unit. They had some problems. Gary had some question marks about his driving earlier this season. Well, they had some problems. They're now coming back in the top 5. St. Amant's running very strong. He wanted a track similar to his home track earlier this year in Langley, Virginia, but Gary wants further success, and again, a championship is not out of the question, Rick.
Little body damage on the right front corner of the 7 car obviously hasn't upset things for St. Amant, who's run back to 2nd behind leader Mike Garvey. Derek Gilchrist, though, strongly into 3rd. Brian Drebber, they've got to be pleased with how that young driver's come up through the field.
Well, they certainly are. I'm not sure how pleased they are right now. It's still a long way to go. But, you know, funny things happen sometimes. At Milwaukee, Rick Gilchrist, Derek's dad, came up to me and said, if we stay out of the first 2 wrecks, we're going to win this thing. And I think he was kidding. But you know what? They stayed out of the first 2 wrecks, and they won. He said again today the same thing. So I don't know, man. Can it happen twice?
Never know. Long way to go. We're not quite to halfway. You're watching 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on the racetrack here at Jennerstown. Tim Sauter now starting to challenge. There's your leader, Mike Garvey. He's got almost a full straightaway. 1.5 seconds the advantage for Garvey over Gary St. Amant as they come out of turn 4. 235 laps remain here at Jennerstown Speedway. And Mike Garvey is your leader. The Pontiac Excitement 400 here on TNN Motorsports, presented by Janet King Commercial Cleaning Services. Garvey in the one car has been stout all day. Raced his way by Mike Eddy earlier. Eddy had led the first 80 laps. A little contact up in turn one sent Eddy into the wall and behind the wall for the afternoon. Look at this battle. This is for third. Derek Gilchrist in the 52 has raced his way up from the middle of the field where he started today. He has third. Tim Sauter challenging for third spot. And look at this, with Mike Miller behind the wall with engine problems. If things were to come to a conclusion right now, Sauter would claim the point lead. We told you at the top of the broadcast this one was not over by any stretch of the imagination with 3 races left in the season. Brian Drever, the 18 team, well, I wonder if they know what the point situation is right now.
Well, they're not worried about that, guys. All they're worried about is getting the car back out on the racetrack. They finally got that piece of bolt out. They tried to do it with the right angle drill, but it just didn't work for them. So they pulled the radiator off and went straight in. They had more room to work, essentially, and that did the trick. Now they're putting the radiator back on. Miller's in the car with his helmet on. The net's up. Any minute now, the 18 car will go back out on the racetrack. They still got a little bit of work to do, but at least there's hope.
What we'll find is a great battle for the championship out of this regardless. If Sauter finishes top 5 and Miller, say, even gains 3 or 4 spots and finishes 25th, it's a whole new ball game heading into the final 2 races.
Give Tim Sauter third spot. He just worked his way by Gilchrist's 52 machine. So Sauter now with St. Amant ahead and Garvey to work on. Tim from 5th here to 3rd. Plenty of time left. Remember, it's Salem back earlier in the summer on Saturday night. He said, hey, I'm not even worried about this 300 lapper until the last 50. This race may be coming towards Sauter, but he's got a couple of stout race cars to work on. Gary St. Amant about 2 seconds behind the leader Garvey. It's another 2.5. Back to this battle between Sauter and Gilchrist as they work out in turn 4. Keep an eye on Mike Miller and see when they're ready to fire up the 18, bring him back out. Now remember, they haven't restarted the car yet, so they think they've got it fixed, but you never know until you press the button and start the motor back up. Eddie Hoffman in the 5, the 44 of Johnson. They are 5th and 6th on the racetrack. Hoffman trying to hang on to the spot. Tristan Dupuis is 7th. Dave Sensiva is 8th. So these 4 cars battling for position now. Remember, Johnson has $10,000 worth of bonus money out in front of him today if he can find his way to victory lane, but he's got a long way to go. And some very, very strong race cars in front of him. Johnson has not yet shown that he'll be a contender for the win today, although he is strongly in the top 10. Hoffman doing a nice job here this afternoon. Hoffman started pretty deep in the field. Spin up in 1 and 2. Pierre Goulet, Russ Tuttle into the wall again for the 2nd time this weekend. There's a 3rd car up there, the 97 machine. Jack Gritter also involved, so we've got caution on the speedway. Gritter gets the car refired. Tuttle's away. The front end of the 16 with heavy damage. They're going to need to put that car on the trailer and bring out the backup machine for next week's action in Cedar Rapids at Hawkeye Downs. Tuttle at speed, though. Does not look as though it was terminal damage. He'll probably have to come in and have some work done on the front body work to make that car drivable. The hood is pushed back pretty far. Pierre Goulet's machine with the bodywork pushed in on the nose of the car as well. And Butch, we always talk about aerodynamics in a situation like that. Half-mile racetrack. Can you run effectively with the front end moved around?
Oh, absolutely. There's no problem with the front end here. The only problem you never had, lose the spoiler here, you have a problem. Front end, no problem.
Pierre Goulet this weekend actually has one less very valuable member of his crew here. You think Joe Nemechek's mom is involved with the team and wherever he races. His mom Joyce is not here this weekend. She had fell and broke her elbow. So Pierre is one very valuable crew member short this weekend.
Get a look at that. Goulet and Tuttle tangling. Goulet goes around Tuttle into the wall. Gritter in the 97 spins. He was down low. Looked like he got on the brakes and spun that car around. Caution, and the front running cars come down on pit road. Garvey is already down and away. Right side tires, you see the yellow nose of St. Amant's machine. He'll go down and away. Garvey in the 1 car will be first out. St. Amant will be 2nd. Dupuis, it looks like, will be the 3rd car away, and then Gilchrist and the 81 of Harold Fair. Russ Tuttle's team, meanwhile, with a lot of work to do, Brian Drever.
Well, they've got a slope-nose Chevrolet right now, and they're trying to see if they can't get it back to something resembling its original shape. Certainly airflow will be a problem. They decide hood off is the way they're going to go, and Russ Tuttle takes the car out of here.
Tuttle down and away with no hood, as he mentioned, but they are down and away to avoid losing a lap. Tim Sauter stays out on the racetrack, and he will be your restart leader when we come back for green flag action in Jennerstown. 400, presented by Janet King Commercial Cleaning Services, the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN Motorsports. He has been the series point leader for a long time. Mike Miller is back on the racetrack, but he is 74 laps behind the leaders after spending all that time behind the pit wall with that severe engine problem, the broken bolt up front. Ricky Johnson's had problems as well, the Rookie of the Year point leader. Brian Drebber, troubles for two of the prime guys in this event.
Well, indeed, Mike Miller's crew is kind of going through the post-mortem here, the debriefing after what they did to get him back out on the racetrack. Of course, they're as interested as anybody else in how the points shake out. And in the rookie battle, Ricky Johnson had to come in early, cut down a left rear tire, got caught up in a wreck out there. That's unfortunate for him. So each of the point leaders has had a bad day today so far.
Tim Sauter elects to stay on the racetrack during that caution. He'll pick up the 5 bonus points for leading here at Jennerstown. That'll add to his cushion as things currently stand anyway in terms of the national championship battle. Sauter seeing exactly what he needed happen today to Mike Miller. Near terminal engine problems, putting the 18 behind the wall for 70-some laps. Sauter has the opportunity to grab the lead, and he is out in front right now, and Mike Miller back on pit road. Butch Miller, you were saying that what they changed on that car, you were expecting more engine problems to befall Mike.
Well, that bolt also holds a pulley that drives the oil pump. And at some point, that motor had to be running without turning the oil pump, which means no oil pressure. Usually a motor doesn't last very long once you put it back together.
We'll get Brian Drebber down there and find out what Miller found when he refired the 18 and took it around the racetrack. That could be the end of the afternoon for the guy who's been the series point leader and dominant driver all year long. Tim Sauter's 5th trip to Jennerstown. He's led once here before, but his best finish only a 12th a couple of seasons back. Hopes to improve a lot on that today, and he's on track to do just that. Halfway, he'll be in 10 more laps, and Sauter's got a good advantage, about a half a second over Eddie Hoffman in the black Ford there, the number 5, the Don Finetti machine. Jimmy Johnson in the 44 has run his way up to 3rd in the Pennzoil car. And Dave Sensiba, who was strong early, he's played his cards very nicely this afternoon. He rides 4th. Johnson to the inside of Hoffman as they come out of turn 4. 1 second spot. Doesn't quite have it yet, but he'll get the advantage down into 1. The inside line starting to work now for some of these guys. Rick Beebe in the yellow 23. You saw him there. He's up to 5th. Now Hoffman will try the low side. Can't keep the car down there, and Johnson is unmolested in 2nd spot. So Sauter, your leader, by about 8/10 of a second over Jimmy Johnson. Sauter in the blue and white number 9 up ahead there. You see him on the left side of your screen. The battle now for 3rd. Sensiba wants to get by Hoffman for 3rd. He'll look inside. Dave's been using the low lane just about all afternoon in the Generac Pontiac.
And Hoffman's been able to hold his own as well. We see him pinching off Sensiba there off the corner. Hoffman's got 70-lap tires on there. He has not pitted the last 2 caution flags to get track position. Able to hold on just on Jimmy Johnson by here and Sensiba on the Generac Pontiac. A lot fresher tires, but I'd say it's a good run for both and a better run right now for Hoffman, who's been able to stay out under cautions and get top 5 runs.
It's been a disappointing year as well for Rick Beebe and the Meyer Storrs Chevrolet, and they've changed crew chiefs, they've changed body styles on that car, going from a Pontiac to a Chevrolet, but Beebe starting to rumble here today and has a good run going. Meantime, in the pit area, back behind the wall, looks as though Mike Miller's afternoon may be done. Let's find out more. Ryan Drebber.
Well, I'm with crew chief Carl Hyland, and naturally a mix of pleasure and disappointment here. Pleasure initially because they got it fixed, and now you guys are pretty disappointed, done for the day.
Yeah, I tell you what, Brian, but the Wagner Fire Janet King Pontiac, bad luck hit us with we broke a mandrel bolt there in the crankshaft and it lost oil pressure. Evidently, it must have done just enough damage to the bearings or something before Mike got her shut out to start with. We put it back together, sent it back out. The motor started to get tightened up, so instead of wasting the race motor, we decided to go ahead. I mean, it was going to blow up in 5 laps, so we just wills to quit anyhow. But I tell you what, we'll see if we can regroup, go to Cedar Rapids, and see if we can chase Tim down if he gets back in front of us here.
It's a brand new season now, guys, and it's only 2 races long.
Tough break indeed for the Janet King Pontiac and series point leader Mike Miller. He'll cough up the lead most likely here today. Eddie Hoffman trying to hang on to 3rd. Dave Sensiba and Hoffman have made contact, and look at Mike Garvey, who's led a lot of this one today. He's run his way into contention 2 laps ago. This was on the backstretch. Watch the contact here. Boom. Both drivers keep it straight, but Sensiba let the car walk up the racetrack on him, and he clipped the left rear corner. Look at this, 3 wide. Garvey goes inside the lap car, the 34 machine. Garvey to the outside of Sensiba. He wants to get back to the point as quickly as he can, and Gary St. Amant riding with him. They were 1 and 2 before the last caution, the last round of pit stops. Hoffman is third. Garvey to the outside. Sensiba wants to go inside. He bumps Hoffman, and Garvey will go around both of them. So Garvey will run back up to third spot. Hoffman back into fourth. Sensiba and St. Amant for fifth. On board the Tecumseh Chevrolet, looking out the back door of Garvey's machine. He pulls away now from Hoffman.
All right, beat smooth.
Down in 1 and 2. About 20 seconds to get around here. About 21 under race conditions. Gary St. Amant now to the outside of Hoffman. St. Amant once fourth. Halfway, we're halfway. 200 laps remaining here this afternoon at Jennerstown, and Garvey is third in the 1 car. Gary St. Amant behind him in fourth. Garvey with obviously a quicker car than St. Amant, but Gary's strong. Our mid-race recap brought to you by Jana King Commercial Cleaning Services. Our fourth leader of the day is Tim Sauter. We've had 4 lead changes, 6 cautions on the first half of this one. These are the cars behind the wall. Look at the bottom of that list. Mike Miller, the series point leader with terminal engine difficulties, and Mike Eddy in the middle of the chart you see there. The 88 car started from the number 1 spot, although he qualified second. He and Miller swapped spots, and he led the first 80 laps. Garvey clipped him, spun into the wall in turn 1, unintentional. No penalty to Garvey, but Eddy retires with a broken front end here. Watching Eddie Hoffman and Dave Sensiba. They're battling for 5th spot. Rick Beebe is in the mix as well on the 23 car. He's 7th. Sensiba will try the low side. These cars made contact just a couple of laps ago. Great racing all around here at Jennerstown Speedway.
Hoffman on that high line is pretty much running where a lot of the fast guys have been running all afternoon long. Sensiba is one of the few guys to make the bottom work. Tim Sauter was the other earlier, but Sauter now has a higher line at the head of the field. This battle here will rage on until some more of the guys that pitted for fresher tires came in. We noticed that Mike Garvey and Gary St. Amant were able to get back and pass these guys rather easily. We'll see if that will be the case in a few more laps.
Hoffman with a good third to open up the season at DeSoto Speedway in Florida back in the month of March. He's led several different times this year, ran well at Memphis, led some laps there, and looked as though he might contend for the win, but bad luck has caught the Finetti team a couple of different times this season when they've had good runs going. But a good one today, certainly, for the 5 car. They are 5th. Sensiba is 6th. Beebe is 7th. That's the yellow car you see at the bottom of your screen. The more fluorescent yellow 11 car, Tristan Dupuis, is riding 8th. And you've got Ted Smokestad in the Project 2000 car. He's with this group of cars, but he's a lap down back in 14th spot. Battle for second. Jimmy Johnson trying to hold on and hold off Mike Garvey. They'll both use that high lane through turn 2. You can see the blue and white car of Tim Sauter up in front. He's your race leader. Less than a second, though, between the top 3 machines. Just starting second half action here at Jennerstown. Johnson, last year's Rookie of the Year in that Herzog Chevrolet. 79 of Travis Price, lapped car on the inside. On board the Tecumseh machine of Garvey.
Nice and smooth. Driver work feels best.
Crew chief telling Garvey just stay smooth and stay where the car feels the best to you on the racetrack. Boy, there's not a nickel's worth of difference between those 2 drivers at this moment.
Nor their lines. They're almost identical lines, which makes it particularly hard for them to pass.
We'll bounce back a little further. This battle between Hoffman and Sensiba. Hoffman in the black 5, Sensiba in the white 6. Has been raging for the last 20 laps. They have come together a couple of times on the backstretch. Dupuis now working his way around Ted Smokestad in the laser car. Smokestad not on the same lap, remember. Oh, and Hoffman wiggles up there and has to tuck back in. So Sensiba gets by to get the spot. Now the battle for second. Garvey to the inside of Johnson. They come off of 2. Down into 3, and Garvey may have him this time. Garvey has led a lot of laps here today. Give Garvey the spot by a car. St. Amant right there as well. He is 4th in the 7th. Gary using the low side to gain ground on Jimmy Johnson. He wants to move back up behind Garvey. No doubt that these drivers know that Mike Miller is out of the race, and they can make big ground up in the point chase here.
Johnson are 3rd and 4th in the points heading into this one. And we mentioned Johnson, a $10,000 bonus from Janiking if he wins this race. He already won one at Memphis. They picked 3 out at the beginning of the year. Mike Eddy was the other driver eligible for the 10K, and he's out of the race. So Johnson not only wants to gain in points, but the payday wouldn't hurt either. St. Amant just looking for his 2nd win this season in the Gated Transportation Chevy.
So Tim Sauter maintains the advantage in car number 9. He's a half second in front of Mike Garvey in the 1 car. Time today, a spin in turn 2 for the 04 machine. Leaders are on pit road. Tim Sauter getting service already. He'll be the first car off of pit road. Gary St. Amant will come away with 2nd. Then Jimmy Johnson, Garvey and Hoffman, Gilchrist, Tristan Dupuis, Rick Beebe, and Dave Sensiba. Brian Drever, heavy traffic down there on pit road.
Oh, and one of the best stops all day long for Mike Chaffee and the crew on Tim Sauter's car. Mike, you guys have had the look of winners all season long, but it takes on a little different dimension here today. Looks like you're the points leaders now, too.
Well, we're not taking anything for granted right now. We still have a long ways to go, and we've had some weird things happen to us, just like happened to Mike today. And we're just going to keep doing our own thing, and these guys are doing an awesome job in the pits, and Tim's doing a great job in the race car. I just don't know if we have anything for the 1 car, but if we can take a top 3, we'll be happy.
I know you want to get back to work. Take off.
All right, thanks a lot.
The AP Performance team doing a great job for the 9 and Tim Sauter today. 2nd group of cars, the cars a lap or more down, coming onto pit road now. Service taking place down there. Leaders will come around under caution. There's Sauter and the Trim Plus Wears Chevrolet, the 9 car from the Alec Pinsonneau team. Gary St. Amant comes away with 2nd off that pit road shuffle. Now Dave Doran has stayed out on the racetrack. 2nd time he has worked this different pit stop cycle. He's shown as your restart leader in the Lista 77. So a good run again for the Cincinnati driver in his first year of ASA competition. We'll take another quick time out at Jennerstown. 221 laps of 400 on 1 lap till the restart here at the Pontiac Excitement 400 for the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series at Jennerstown Speedway. Brought to you today, presented by Janiking Commercial Cleaning Services. Field under caution for the 7th time. The 77 of Dave Doran will be your restart leader on a little different pit cycle today. These first 3 cars not on the same lap. The 46, the LS1, and the 79. There's Doran. The 8 of Tom Harrington also not on the lead lap. Tim Sauter will restart in 2nd spot, but there is traffic between he and Doran. Green flag waving. Doran will have to work his way by a couple of lap cars. He's got Ted Smokestead there in the laser car in front of him. There's Sauter. He's got his work cut out for him to sift through that lap traffic. Doran, if he can work his way around these lap machines, has an opportunity to really gain some ground here and take off. Working on the Farmer Jack's car there. He'll get underneath, and there's caution once again. Yellow flag out one more time. We're told there's debris on the racetrack up in turn 2, so the safety crew will have to come back out and police up the area there. There is a piece of bodywork, it appears, up on the high side, up in the marbles. So that is our 8th yellow of the afternoon with 175 laps remaining. Really no racing took place there. Just got the green, brought the yellow right back out, so everybody will hold tight. But it gives Doran a good opportunity.
He led 10 laps at Salem, but again, this is his first year. He ran just a handful of starts a year ago, so for this Cincinnati-based team, it adds a lot of confidence. They had motor problems last race. They borrowed Gary St. Amant's backup at Minnesota for a single lap, and they pulled in. Today, they purchased a brand new engine to the team, the same engine that Mike Eddy drove at Minnesota and Milwaukee. The engine owned by Young Motorsports, the K-Tech, is now under the hood of the 77.
So Doran with a good run going here today. And a reminder for you, check out a new website, www.wrenchhead.com. It's the ultimate online automotive superstore, the only site you need for all your automotive repair, maintenance, and performance parts. Dial them up today at www.wrenchhead.com. So Dave Doran will be your restart leader once again. Brian Drever, his brother, is a real mastermind in motorsports.
Well, and you know him better than I do, but Kevin Doran, the guys upstairs say you race all over the world. What are you doing here?
I'm having fun. I like the short track racing in ASA.
And you're leading this one.
Well, we're out of sequence with the leaders. We're not that fast just yet, but we're getting there.
How much fun is this?
I love it. I grew up with this type of racing, and you know, the Ferraris and road racing is a lot of fun, a good living, but it's not near the excitement of short track racing.
Well, we'll let you go back and have some more fun then.
Thanks a lot.
Kevin Doran, who runs the Jim Matthews Ferrari team in the American Le Mans Series and also in the now defunct U.S. Road Racing Championship, also has crew chief Lynn St. James at Indianapolis over one in Charlotte. The zip is 28224. We'll announce the winner during each ASA broadcast here on TNN Motorsports. Only one more race to go, so get your card in today. And our winner this week is Frank Whatmore from Mooresville, North Carolina. Frank, enjoy your scanner from Racing Electronics. Frank Whatmore, your winner today of the Racing Electronics Unit scanner. One lap till green, the indication from the flag stand. The debris collected over there in turn 2. That was the reason for our most recent caution flag. Ricky Johnson had to come to pit road a second time, Jim.
Yeah, he was off lead lap, but he pitted out of sequence. Only 3 lap cars are allowed to pit down. The first time he came in with them, got to stop and go, and now he's at the tail.
Now Dave Doran takes advantage. He is first in line. He is your leader with 233 laps on the board in the 77 car. Heard from his crew chief and brother Kevin Doran a moment ago. The 93 of Pinsino and the 8 of Harrington not on the lead lap. Tim Sauter is second in scoring. He's got a ways to go. Doran using the low side. These are the drivers who have spent time out in front today. Don't forget the 88 of Mike Eddy led the first 80 laps. Now Harrington pretty quick. He's going to try to race his way by Doran and get a lap back here, and he will do that. The 8 of Harrington back in 18th spot. He's 3 laps down. So that's one of them. If he gets a quick caution here, he can come around and be 2 laps down. For all intents and purposes, Doran lets him go. No point in racing and causing problems. But here comes Tim Sauter. Greg Stewart. Looks like a modified. We've got trouble on the front stretch as well. A couple of cars in the wall on the front straightaway. Yellow flag waves again. That gives Harrington the opportunity he was looking for. Tim Taylor in the EMAS 28 tangling with the 34 car of Randall Parker from Jennerstown, Michigan. That's the red and yellow Pontiac. Good looking car. Taylor with heavy front end damage. That's the 28. Parker in the 34 still stuck in the inside retaining wall. In fact, hung up on the wall. There's Parker's machine. Trying to get it back in gear. Looks like he's got some severe front end damage. The left front tire, as you see, is pointed inside. So perhaps a broken tie rod or some other front end gear is damaged there.
Parker, along with Andy Poundstein, are regulars at Berlin Raceway, where Dave Sensible cut his teeth. And for some reason, those drivers seem to adapt very well to this racetrack in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. Parker making his first ASA start for Randy Allen in the Eaglewood construction team.
So Taylor back underway, but he's going to need some service, it appears. Some of the leaders, the 77 of Doran, the 5 of Hoffman, the 07 of Landis on pit road. I don't know. I like the way Doran, especially his brother crew chief Kevin Doran's calling the shots here. They're taking advantage of these cautions, working them very well. Doran's led twice today. This is going to take a while. The 34 is still up on the retaining wall inside. Landis down and away first, though. Hoffman is going to be down and away first, so Doran will cough up the lead here. And he'll lose the first spot that he's had in this group of cars pitting. They get the go signal to come off pit road. The list of Pontiac down and away with fresh rubber, though, on the outside. 2 tires at every stop here, most you can take on. And as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, 16 tires the limit today, unless now there are some cars behind the wall. You can't go and try to obtain tires from another team. So this will give some of the cars a little additional help in the rubber department here today. We'll take a look at what happened on the front stretch just a moment ago. The 34 and the 28 tangling. Another car involved there as well. Looked like the 04 involved in that one.
Jack Smith was right at the tail of that as he scooted by on the inside. We saw the cars getting together up at turn number 4. I would say it's a matter of, did the 34 bounce off the wall, or was the 28 that close where they touched and continued to make contact on the front stretch?
The Wrecker's going to have its work cut out. The 34 is still hung up on the inside front stretch retaining wall. Randall Parker sitting patiently, hoping to be able to. Has stopped up on the backstretch in the Tyson Foods machine. Now, Russ has also spent some time in the wall. Net's down on that car. The hood's gone. You can see that the car's pretty rumpled at the front and back end. So he's getting a push now from one of the tow trucks. Could be the end of the afternoon for Tuttle.
Look at that. Usually you see a car that's badly damaged between 2 records. You rarely see a record doing double duty. But one thing about Russ Tuttle, he fought his way back on the lead lap, which is awesome, considering how what that team's done. And I took a peek at Dennis Gross-Nichols' welding before the race. He's a good welder, but I don't think he had a lot of time to finish the job just right. So for as well as that car's running today, those guys deserve a lot of credit. And Dennis said, yeah, I'll have fun this week putting a new clip on this car. I haven't had a chance to do that much, and I'm not going to worry about the motor. I'll worry about changing that clip.
Russ has had a very strong rookie season. Terrific guy. We've enjoyed getting to know him this year, and that whole team. They've put a couple of different sponsors to work for that team this season. And Russ has a close relationship with Dale Earnhardt. Provides personal security for the 7-time Winston Cup champion. He'll coast around after getting that push. Not quite enough of a push to get the Tyson Foods machine back on the pit road. Work going on the front of the 04 car as well. Throw some water on the radiator when he took that hit in the last caution. Looks like they may have broken something up front there. Car overheating. He's going to pull it away. Try not to lose another lap. Jack Smith shown 22nd. He is 8 laps down to the leaders. They don't want to go another lap down. Brings the 04 back out.
Jack's a full-time fabricator, and he worked for Liberty Racing, which fields trucks now for Kevin Harvick and the Porter Cable Power Tools team that Butch Miller once drove for out of Ohio's shop.
I think Butch Miller's driven for everybody.
Actually, that team, Butch won the ASA championship in '94. Then they went truck racing with Butch in '95.
Russ Tuttle's car, we're told, with a clutch gone. So that could spell the end of the afternoon for the 16 car. We'll find out in a moment. Still under caution here. Pontiac Grand Prix safety car is out at the head of the field as Tuttle rolls around the down pit road and makes a slow turn into the garage area. Spotters telling their drivers time to come up through the gears. Sauter in the 9, your restart leader. The 7 of St. Amant his second. Then Johnson, Garvey, Derek Gilchrist your top 5. 245 laps on the board. Alec Pinsito in the 93 a lapped car. He'll drop down, let the leaders funnel by. On board with Mike Garvey in the 1, back and forth.
Hurry up, you'll get the next group.
Garvey with maybe the strongest car out here today, but Sauter, at the moment anyway, the point leader in ASA because Mike Miller's behind the wall with a blown motor. Gary St. Amant, though, last year's champion with a shot too, and he goes outside Sauter. St. Amant with plenty of incentive to race here today. Going for his 3rd win of the season if he can pull this victory off. And he moves by Sauter. So give Gary St. Amant the lead. Strong run on the outside on lap 246 for Gary St. Amant. 4th in series points with 2 victories. Going for his 3rd of the year. He's 200 points behind. He's going to gain a bunch on Miller as well. This the battle for 3rd. Johnson had the spot, but give it to Garvey by a fender as they race into turn 1. Mike Garvey in the 1 car moving by cleanly.
9-7 outside.
So we know Garvey has got a stout race car here today as well. And Butch, this race for Garvey has been a thing of beauty. Except for that tangle with Eddie, he's run a perfect race.
Really has. That car's very fast. The guy I'm really impressed with, though, is Gary St. Amant. I was clocking him yesterday. On old tires, he was actually a 10th quicker in that top groove. Plus, the car was smooth. And he could go to the bottom, and it was like he had a different set of shock absorbers than everybody else. No bumping around, no trying to knock the back tires off the ground. Got a very good car today.
Several of the drivers this morning talking, saying the shock setup was the critical thing here at Jennerstown, and that a very high bleed rate out of the shock valving is what you look for. On board, Mike Garvey in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. Taking a look at how Mike's working that wheel. The car evidently handling very well. He's not pulling on the wheel much at all off the corner.
I'm just looking to see if there's any drool off the corner of his mouth or anything like that. You know, usually that's when you've got your tongue hanging out the corner of your mouth, or you're doing something stupid like rubbing your nose maybe.
Under caution is usually when you get snagged for that kind of deal. Look how Mike Garvey's sitting in this car, though, Butch. His head is darn near at the window net. His seat's at a 45-degree angle to the earth, straight up and down, but it looks like it's cocked over to the left to get his head as far to the window as possible.
It's called job security. Nobody else will fit in that car, so, you know, that's the purpose of that.
Racing his way into 2nd comes Garvey around Timmy Sauter as they work into 3. David Green uses a seat like that as well in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series with the seat tilted a little bit so that you've got that lean into the corner. Garvey from 6th up to 2nd now. Has led a bunch of laps here today. Latest driver to go behind the wall, the driver of the Tyson Foods Chevrolet, Brian Drebber.
Well, with Russ Tuttle, there's no other way to describe it. Russ, you guys did a hell of a job this weekend, and just the weekend ended too soon.
I'll tell you, but everybody on this Tyson Chevrolet Monte Carlo team just worked their behinds off all weekend. Dennis Gross, Nickel, and Joe, and Chuck, everybody on our team. Got a lot of help from a lot of people, and we led some laps today. We had a really good car despite the back clip being busted off, and we're just out there trading paint, trying to put this Tyson Chevrolet Monte Carlo in the winner's circle today. We were off a pit sequence a little bit, but I think that was going to play out to our hand today, and we were going to get tires late in the race, and Mike Miller had given us some of his tires. He'd went out early, and I think we had a legitimate chance to win the race. It's a shame. We had transmission and clutch problems ever since that wreck yesterday, and just went away again today. But I'd like to thank Tyson and King Richard's Cigars. Everybody's helped us out here this year, and especially all the guys on my crew. They did a superior job this weekend.
Good luck next time, Russ.
Thank you.
Russ Tuttle, a good guy, good race car driver in his first year in the ASA Championship Series. This is the battle for the lead. Gary St. Amant in the 7 has the point. Garvey in the black number 1 challenging. Remember, Garvey has led earlier for many, many laps here this afternoon. St. Amant using the mirror, holding him at bay right now. Gary started 9th here this afternoon. Check that, I'm sorry, started 3rd. He's dropped back to 9th. Garvey being patient. Long way to go, still 133 trips remaining.
143 to go. Just keep pedaling, boss. Do the best you can do.
Garvey down low onto the front stretch. Just content to ride there for the moment. Page back to the battle for 6th and 7th and 8th. Dave Sensiba up ahead, running in 6th. Beebe in the 23 is 7th. Brandon Sperling challenging for 7th spot, and Tristan Dupuis is in there as well. So you've got 7th, 8th, and 9th all together on the racetrack. Working through turn 4. Sperling holding on to 8th, but Dupuis trying to run around him on the high side. Beebe has 7th spot right now. The 97 is not on the same lap.
Rick Beebe certainly making that brand new Chevrolet chassis work for him, as he's had the outside of Dave Sensiba for 40 laps, and now Brandon Sperling, the McDonald's drive-through Chevy on the inside, and Beebe's able to hold his own.
Beebe using that high groove out of turn 2. Butch talked earlier about how that gives you good forward bite. It's smoother up there. And Sperling says, hey, I'll try my luck down low. Dupuis settling back in 9th spot behind the 7th place driver, the 23, and the 40 of Sperling. Now Sperling to the inside, looking for the position out of 2. Brian Drebber, busy place on pit road. Are we doing a little horse trading down there for some tires?
More than a little horse trading. It was going on here just a while ago as Jim Duffy was in the middle of negotiations between the tire specialists for both Mike Garvey and Gary St. Amant. But then Steve Farmer of the ASA got involved in it. Goodyear does have some tires left, and now that enough cars have gone out of the race, they've decided, okay, they're going to let each lead lap car have 2 more tires. If it weren't for that, Gary St. Amant and Mike Garvey would be bolting old tires on at the end of this race.
Part of the story here today at Jennerstown, how well you can make that allotment of tires work for you as the laps wind down. Not too far to go until there'll only be 100 laps remaining on the scoreboard. Give a call to Brandon Sperling. He's worked his way around the 23 and the 11 car. Sperling is up to 7th in the 40. That's the McDonald's machine, the Crookston Motorsports Chevrolet. Ted Smokestad has worked his way into 10th in the laser car. Up front, though, this is for the lead. St. Amant has had the top spot. Garvey in the 1 coming after him. Gary using the high lane and the Lane Automotive Chevrolet, the wins car. Lap traffic in front, so Garvey will have to settle back. Garvey made the winning pass Monday in Minnesota with 7 to go around Scott Hansen, so we know he's patient. And St. Amant is as patient and smooth as they come, so this ought to be a great battle in the final 130 laps.
And as hard as Mike Garvey likes to race, he's racing Gary St. Amant harder, I believe, than Gary wants to run right now because there are that many laps remaining.
Down into 3, the 7 and the 1 remain nose to tail. Sauter is 3rd, a couple of seconds back. Garvey 4th place here a year ago. Likes that low line through 1 and 2, but you can see him dropping down onto the yellow line there. That's the line he used early on when he got into Mike Eddy, able to go even lower this time and avoid those bumps.
But you watch how when he drops so low there, you see that the 7 car will be real smooth, and the 1 car just bounces all over the place. You can see him bumping right here.
Wow.
Look at that.
Look at that. Yeah, indeed. Our in-camera look out at the 7. That was from the 1 of Garvey. And settle back into 2nd through 3 and 4 here. Garvey that time electing to run behind St. Amant up through 1 and 2. Top right of your screen, that's a look at how Garvey is working the wheel of the Lefebvre Motorsports machine. St. Amant knocking him off, 130 to go. Pinsino of the 93, left side of your screen, lap traffic directly in front. This is your battle for the #1 spot here at Jennerstown.
They'll get you going into 1. We're down. Here they come. Outside.
Spotter talking to Garvey.
Behind to 1. See if you can run in their groove.
Keep in mind that with Mike Garvey leads most laps, he gets 5 points. If Gary St. Amant, who's in this title championship chase, gets most laps led, he gets 5 points. I think that's why Tim Sauter on that last restart wasn't so happy to give up the lead. Now he's still in 3rd position, but this battle is continuing, and I think St. Amant wants to lead as many laps as possible in hopes of getting that 5 additional bonus points.
And normally when you see 2 cars racing this hard, it allows other traffic to catch them. Hasn't been the case at all. Sauter still about 2 seconds behind this lead battle, has not been able to reel him in at all. On board Garvey. Onto the front stretch, St. Amant by half a car length as they haul it off into turn 1. Garvey just hanging tough in that 1 car. St. Amant hanging tougher, though, for the time being by half a car length, still your leader. Garvey gets a good run on the low side as they come onto the front straightaway, but still St. Amant pulls him. Battling for the lead at Jennerstown, the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN Motorsports. St. Amant uses the high side to good advantage again. Jumps back to a car length advantage over Garvey. Garvey says, all right, I'll ride behind you for a while. No change out in front. 125 trips to go around the half-mile asphalt here at Jennerstown. Tim Sauter, Dave Senseman, Derek Gilchrist are the rest of the top 5. Caution again at Jennerstown. Trouble up in turn 3. Tom Harrington has whacked the wall hard in the young Pontiac. Harrington is out of the car there, you can see, but he rolled on the racetrack. Fire under the hood. We think he may have burned his hand. He rolled on the racetrack once, got up quickly and went to the wall, but he's gotten his bell rung pretty thoroughly. Harrington hanging over the wall. Some of his own crew there to attend to him. He's pulling off the gloves. And the track safety crew on the scene quickly. They've already poured a couple of fire bottles on the engine compartment of the 8, so the fire is out. A lot of smoke under the hood. Leaders onto pit road. Garvey is down and away. Gilchrist, Johnson, Beebe, and Tristan Dupuis. Hoffman in the 5. ASA officials there as well. So this will take a moment to clean up. Harrington, a veteran pilot, running a partial schedule this year. For Tom for many years in the NASCAR All-Pro Series, the Slim Jim All-Pro Series, and a lot of ASA action over the years. Good guy. Former pro football player with the New Orleans Saints years ago.
He told me something about his high school days. He's from Shreveport, Louisiana. He was a tight end, and his quarterback, who only started his senior season, was Terry Bradshaw.
Good guy to have throwing the ball.
I think so.
We'll take a couple of looks at what happened here. You're on board with Ken Alexander down into turn 3. We'll get one look at it. Looked as though there was already smoke coming out of the 8 car when he got up into the wall there.
The way he hit that wall, Butch, there had to be something mechanical. There's no way he hit that hard, that high.
Harrington bails out. This is a replay from a few moments ago. You can see the fire under the hood and the smoke. Harrington rolling. He obviously got his bell run. Now there's hot liquid coming out of the car, and that's what got him up and got him rolling away. Harrington pulling the gloves off. I think it caught him in the hand. Now Tom wearing full safety gear, but you can tell he got singed there a little bit by that hot liquid.
Whatever it was inside the car to get him out was maybe not the worst of the problems for Tom, as he was sitting in that hot liquid, and that will wake you up in a hurry.
So the safety crew is there. They're going to have to tow the 8 car. A lot of moisture on the racetrack. Speedy dry being laid down because it looks as though perhaps hot antifreeze and or oil on the racetrack. We'll take a timeout. Come right back with more. Welcome back to Jennerstown on TNN Motorsports, the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series. Next week, more automobile racing, of course, for you here on TNN. Saturday afternoon, 2 races in one afternoon. The Busch North Series and the Featherlight Modified Tour of NASCAR team up for a high-speed twin bill. The New Hampshire Twin 100s and New Hampshire International Speedway from Loudon. 1 o'clock Eastern and Pacific right here on TNN Motorsports. This set the table for our coverage next week of the Duraloop Kmart 300. The NASCAR Winston Cup Stars at the Magic Mile in New Hampshire. Our pre-race coverage at 12:30, right after TNN Race Day at noon Eastern next week. Race coverage starts at 1 o'clock only on TNN Motorsports, the leader in motorsports coverage. Under caution because Tom Harrington had trouble with the 8 car. We'll show you what happened. Harrington glanced off the wall on the backstretch. Might have cut down a right front tire. That was the first scuff mark. All the way down the back straightaway, there's a big scuff mark. That's where the caution light is at the entrance to turn 3. We'll move around a little further and show you where he hit the wall hard and rode the fence around to the stopping point. Now they've hooked the 8 car away. Harrington into the ambulance for a check at the care center. We showed you how he bailed out quickly. Looked as though he had a little damage. Now look up ahead. This is from Ken Alexander's car. If you take a look up at the top of your screen, we're slow motioning the pictures. There you see the smoke coming away from the 8 car before he even gets to the wall. Hard hit in the fence for Harrington. That's right before the scoreboard here in 3 and 4. You see debris flying, rolls around, comes to a stop, and then there was an oil fire.
Just guessing. I think he hit the wall coming off of turn 2. Cut the right front down and didn't realize it until he got all the way into turn 3. And then, of course, locked up the front end, went straight on into the wall.
The young Pontiac into the garage area on the hook. Heavy damage because of the fire. They had to dump fire bottles, fire material on the front end of that car to quell the flames. Here it is again. Harrington unbuckling, net down quickly. Veteran athlete, veteran race driver, bails out. He took a lick. You could see he was hurting, had the wind knocked out of him, rolls over. Now watch the fluid roll out from under the car. He's sitting down and it catches him. He realizes it's hot. He jumps up, puts his hand down to roll away, and that left hand, he hurt it. He pulled the glove off the left hand. I believe he's got a burn or 2 there, even though that's undoubtedly a fireproof glove. Ryan Drebber, what's the situation down there for Harrington?
I just talked to some of the guys on the crew. Naturally, there's a lot of concern for Tom Harrington. No, he's not burned. He came out of the car in a hurry, and they think that he injured and possibly broke his shoulder coming out of there to get away from that fire. That's the situation with Tom Harrington.
Wow, heavy damage to the right side of that car, peeled the bodywork back. There you see the fire chemical, the fire retardant chemical that they used under the hood to put the fire out. Butch, I think you're exactly right that the right front tire troubles got Harrington into the wall, bounced off it a couple of times before tagging it hard up in 3. A lot of moisture, a lot of speedy dry up on the racetrack. So the cleanup continues. Dave Sensible will have the restart pole. Ted Smokestad and the V8 car will restart second. Welcome back to Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. The ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN Motorsports. Tom Harrington will take a ride to a local hospital, get checked out, concerned that he might have broken a shoulder or perhaps injured his sternum with that impact up in the turn 3 wall. Coming up on 100 to go and we get ready to go green. Dave Sensiba, who did not stop in the last cycle, this caution period, will have the restart pole. Ted Smokestad in the LS1 V8 machine has run his way to second spot. Jack Landis, Gary St. Amant, Tim Sauter, Mike Garvey, Jimmy Johnson, Derek Gilchrist, Rick Beebe, Tristan Dupuis will be your top 10. Smokestad not running for points here today as the field circulates under caution here at Jennerstown. Beautiful afternoon for racing. Good crowd on hand, and we are glad you're with us on TNN Motorsports. The 46 cars first in line behind the ASA safety car, the Pontiac Grand Prix. But we'll take a look back from the 6 of Sensiba. Some of the cars that have been strong today, the 44, the 52, and the 23. We'll restart a little further back as the field laps under caution one more time. Sensiba's second car in line behind the 46. Dan Spence shows him the folded green, 1 to go until the restart. Talked about how costly a day this has been so far for Mike Miller, the series point leader for a long time this summer, coming in today by 92 points over Tim Sauter, but a broken motor in the 18. The 79 of Travis Price on the backstretch pits. He comes in for a quick stop before the green comes back out. Price not a factor in this one today. So Sensiba will restart second in line in the 6 car. That's the white machine with the yellow trim. Smokestad right behind.
The track.
Safety car about to dive in. There will be 106 laps to go when we combine and take the green. Coming up on the final quarter of action, you might say, today, and we're glad you're with us. Back underway. Sensiba takes him away into turn 1. There's Garvey in the 1 car, back in 6th now after pit stops. Smokestad of the black machine. That's the LS1 project car. That's got the new V8 motor that all ASA teams will use next season. Just running for development purposes for GM Powertrain here this weekend. Engineer Don Taylor and a lot of the GM brass are here to watch the car run and to work on it. Continue the testing process. On board with Ken Alexander's Grease Lightning Chevrolet, the 03. Alexander has worked hard today. He's gotten up into 17th. And Smokestad inside the 6. Smokestad to the lead in the LS1. Wow, Ted Smokestad had to start 33rd today, and he's played his cards beautifully.
And he's pitted on the backstretch where we just saw Travis Price's turn.
Caution on the speedway. Another incident. This one up in turn 3 as well. Oh boy, big trouble for the 03 of Alexander, the 5 of Eddie Hoffman, the 11 of Tristan Dupuis. We go inside the 03 car of Ken Alexander. You've got the 52 of Derek Gilchrist also involved down low. Dupuis refires. He'll come back without losing a lap. The 97 car on pit road to have some body work pulled away and more work done. But the heaviest damage, Hoffman able to drive away in the 5 car, but I think it'll be a short trip to the garage area. Heavy damage to the left front corner. Hoffman led earlier. Be shocked if they're able to bring that car back. He's got the rear end moved on the car. The 5 will be done for the day, no doubt. Look at how out of square that car is. Wow. Hard lick up into the wall. Alexander is stuck there with most of the front end gone off the 03 to Brian Drebber.
Well, naturally, the crew for Eddie Hoffman is quite disappointed right now. And as he came down pit road and they all got a good look for the first time, they just waved him right around the corner and said, take it behind the wall.
Amazing that that car would even run, much less be drivable to the garage. But you could tell from that hard hit and how badly the car was bent up that Hoffman's done for the day. Ken Alexander, no doubt, done for the day, too. Unstrapping, dropping the window net. Ken okay, moving around in the car. And ASA officials they're talking to him. He's got the visor up. Tough end of the afternoon. We were just saying when the green came out how Alexander had worked patiently and worked his way up to 17th. Lead lap cars on pit road. Garvey down and away. Johnson down and away with tires. Sperling, work done on Sensiba's car. He's down and away. He will not be the restart leader. Coming up on lap 300. Next time by, there'll be 100 to go. It's going to take a while to clear the 03 machine. Heavy damage. He piled in behind Dupuis and behind the other car involved, Hoffman. There's Derek Gilchrist. Gilchrist ran up front earlier this afternoon with 3 wins this year. We thought he might have a car to contend with this afternoon.
These guys were all in positions 8 on back. They're just making pit stops. Gilchrist is ahead of that pack. It was Dupuis in there. It was Hoffman in there. Those guys were racing pretty hard to get back to the front.
Got some replays to show you. We'll get them for you here in just a moment as we take a look at the work being done on the 52. Here it is going into 3. There's Sauter and St. Amant. Jimmy Johnson. Oh, fire out of Gilchrist's car. Must have broken an oil line and oiled down the racetrack. He spun all by himself there.
He came out of the car limping as well, and we see why. He's had a hard impact there and backs it down here. The action continues behind him against the wall outside turn 3.
So it was Gilchrist first. We saw him stop down low on the racetrack. Now Alexander took a hard hit here. Let's take a look from his onboard view down the backstretch. Gilchrist up in front of him. We'll listen to what there's the 97 going around, probably in the oil, on the brakes, into the wall, and then into Hoffman very hard. Tough ride for Ken Alexander. Climbs out very gingerly. Brian Drebber, what's the word where you are?
Well, guys, a while ago we were talking about no tires. Well, there's lots mo tires down here right now, and if you think that a lot of these tire specialists are great big guys that can't move, every time there's a wreck and they hear about a car going out of the race, they go like galloping ghosts down towards that pit area, wheeling and dealing for tires. Gary St. Amant's crew says we got plenty now.
Enough cars have gone behind the wall to free up some rubber for the teams remaining. Alexander taking a look with his crew and with the track safety crew. Ken will be escorted away and he'll get checked over by the track medical folks. Eddie Hoffman's day is done as well. Back with more from Jennerstown. Back live, Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. Rick Benjamin, Brian Drebber down on pit road for us today. Butch Miller, Jim Trado alongside. There you see the 03 of Ken Alexander coming in on the hook. Double impact and a very hard one, first into the fence and then into the back end of Eddie Hoffman's machine. So a tough end of the afternoon for the CEO of Grease Lightning. Taking that slow ride into the garage area. A lot of cars behind the wall. Just a few moments ago, Tom Harrington hit the third turn wall hard after apparently losing a tire. We believe it was moisture from Derek Gilchrist's machine. Looked as though Gilchrist blew a motor because flame just exploded out of the bottom of the 52 car. Tristan Dupuis on pit road. Go-Go Auto Parts Freshetta Pizza's machine into that wreck. They're going to send him away with body damage. We'll show it to you one more time. This is down in turn 3. Watch for Gilchrist coming by. There he is. Flames shooting out of the back of the Ken Schrader Racing Chevrolet. Derek spins the car, probably in moisture, his own, into the wall inside, outside, and then is able to get on the brakes and keep from hitting the inside wall very hard. Could have been a very tough second hit. Now we're on board with Alexander down the backstretch at full cry. The 97 spins in the moisture. A double impact there.
Hoffman's car is now a Pinto, I think, the way he shortened up with Alexander's hitting the rear, and Hoffman really had nowhere to go. He was in the oil as well, as was Dupuis. Dupuis we saw in pit lane again. Tough break for those guys running top 10.
High attrition rate here at Jennerstown. Heavy damage to a lot of race cars. Let's find out what happened with Derek Gilchrist. Brian Drepper.
Well, guys, the best guess right now. Earlier, they brought the car in, changed tires, and the right rear had some bad scuffing on the inside. They think that when he hit the wall, a light tap earlier, it might have moved the rear end a little bit. The consensus seems to be that the Panhard bar broke, the rear end moved even more, and it got the oil tank. That's what was leaking and put fluid on the track. That's a guess right now, but the best guess they have.
You can see the back end of the car, the bumper, very dirty. It looks as though oil sprayed up on the back side of the race car.
Absolutely.
They're all working on the 52 car, trying to see what did happen.
I was just going to add, they're still in this rookie chase.
Yeah.
They just got into the top 10 in points. They haven't been there really more than a couple weeks all season, so it's very important for them to get more points for the championship and in the rookie chase, which they're still involved with.
As hard as that impact was, and with that sort of damage, you'd think it'd be tough for them to get the car back on the racetrack. Ready to go green. 93 laps to go. Ted Smokestad is your restart leader in the LS1. The 07 of Landis is second. Pit stops, of course, playing into this. Those cars stayed out on the racetrack. Gary St. Amant in the 7. He's led a bunch of laps here today. Restarts third. Then Tim Sauter battling for the championship in ASA with 3 races to go, 2 after today. With 100 to go, here's your race recap. 8 leaders and 9 lead changes, 11 cautions worth almost 100 laps. 12 cars remain on the lead lap. St. Amant to the outside of the 7. These are your top 3 cars. Smokestad in the black machine with the LS1 on the side of it. That's the test car that started last here today. St. Amant now to the outside of Landis for second spot. Sauter fourth. 5th spot to Dave Doran in the 77. Don't count Doran out. They have played their cards masterfully on pit road. St. Amant working the outside, goes to second spot. Sauter to the outside. He wants third. Sauter with a lot to gain here today. Remember, Mike Miller went behind the wall with 118 laps in the scorecard today. Miller being shown 31st. So if Sauter can score a top 3, he can certainly claim the point lead by a handful with 2 races remaining in the season. Landis in the 07 is 4th. Doran in the 77 is 5th. There's Sauter running 3rd. Now Garvey to the outside of Doran to take the spot away and give Garvey 5th. Doran doing a nice job, though, in the 77 car. He is drawn back to 6th. Jimmy Johnson 7th in the Pennzoil machine. Talked about Johnson, how he's got that Janneke bonus money up today. $10,000 if he can win. After his Memphis victory, he would win 2 out of the 3 Triple Crown Challenge events. Johnson just doesn't seem to have the race car today to win this one with less than 100 to go.
He did pit, however, along with Dave Sensiba, who had the lead, so they're trying to cycle their way back through. Sensiba is getting back through, but Garvey's getting a better run, as is Jimmy Johnson now. Johnson's tires, however, I think will taper off, and Garvey will continue going forward.
And that onboard view from Mike Garvey's Lefebvre Tecumseh Chevrolet. Johnson, Doran, now Rick Beebe, and Dave Sensiba trying to get going. Beebe is 8th, Sensiba 9th. Harold Fair back there. Intense, but good run for Harold Fair today. Best we've seen from him in quite a while. Ran up in the top 5 earlier. Another guy who's used pit strategy to stay close and spend time at the head of the class here today.
Harold's last top 10 finish was back at Anderson ASA-Delco with a 5th place finish, and since then he's had some rear end problems and unfortunate incidents, green flag stops for tire flattening, that kind of thing, and Harold's hopefully back on track here.
The dreaded tire flattening.
The tire flattening.
Flattening, okay.
No. If you want a tire flap, talk about Mike Garvey at Milwaukee when he had a tire explode inside the engine compartment. If you didn't see that, finished 29th, and really, he thought knocked him out of the championship.
Beebe and Sensiba working on Doran. Harold Fair right behind him in the white number 81 machine. It's Doran in the orange 77 car. Doran is 7th, Sensiba 8th. Beebe and Fair are 9th and 10th. Good battling on the racetrack. Out in front, it's still Smokestad and St. Amant. Doran's come from 22nd to lead a couple of times today. Here's the 6th car on the outside, though. Sensiba, who's also run up front today, moves by. So give Sensiba 7th spot. Smokestad out in front in the Laser Project car from GM Motorsports and GM Powertrain, working by the lap 79 car of Price. Gary St. Amant rides 2nd. Garvey now working on Sauter, battling for 3rd. Give Garvey the spot. Moves by Sauter to take the position away. And one car has been strong all afternoon. Took the lead from Mike Garvey after what appeared to be an unintentional bump up in turn 2 on lap 80. Sent Eddie spinning into the wall and ended his afternoon. Mike had led the first 80 laps. Garvey took over. Led through the next pit stop. Has been around the front of the pack all afternoon. Garvey now pulling away from the 9. So Sauter does not seem to quite have enough to contend here. The LS1 is your leader. Very interesting situation because he has come from the back of the field. That's a test car, not running for points. Brian Dribble, what are they saying down there about the LS1?
Well, guys, you gotta love this. There's obviously two very different agendas here. Ted Smokestad has one, and GM Powertrain and the ASA have another. Now, I talked to Don Taylor, who you're looking at right now, the ranking guy from GM Powertrain, and he said, we're here to test a car and an engine, not Ted Smokestad. But I think you could say that they both made their point.
Smokestad has done a brilliant job in that car. Now in Berlin, the first race they ran, he was very strong. Got up to 5th, I believe it was. Ran there for many laps before they brought the car behind the wall. 78 to go, St. Amant and Garvey. Remember, St. Amant is still a contender to win his 2nd consecutive ASA championship.
And ultimately, Gary St. Amant officially is the leader of this race. The V8 car being scored in front will not be given any sort of victory because, number one, it doesn't meet the rule book, and number two, they're doing it in a competitive situation, testing for 2000. So ultimately, St. Amant's chasing his 3rd win of the year.
Garvey right with him, though, and Garvey's been very quick all day today. Now, remember, about 100 laps ago, these two drivers were running 1-2. Same scenario as we go on board with Mike Garvey. He was alongside St. Amant 10 times. It seemed like 15 straight laps they ran that way. Couldn't get by him. Can't do it now either.
Butch, is the outside line just that good at this point in the race where the bottom is not strong enough to pass on?
Very hard to pass on the bottom, but I'm most impressed with the LS1 car. He's able off of turn 2, come off on the bottom and actually pull 2 car lengths on anybody that's behind him. Off the corner, down the backstretch.
Had a chance to drive that car for several laps at Memphis earlier this year. It is a former show car. It's part of Gary St. Amant's team, really. That's where they got the car from. Put the engine in, didn't do a lot of preparation work on the race car, but it is obviously very strong. Here's Garvey and St. Amant battling for 2nd. Garvey to the inside. St. Amant pulls him down the backstretch, and they are starting to reel in Smokestad.
79th inside, clear. All right, let's go get that 40 back.
And there's Smokestad getting out of the way of the top 2 cars. So Smokestad lets the 2 other cars go by, the 7 and the 1. Garvey and St. Amant each with a couple of victories. Gary, the winner at Dover Downs earlier this year here on TNN. Garvey, the winner last Monday on Minnesota. GM Powertrain guys and the LS1 pit crew shaking hands. They know that car was very, very strong today. Here's the one of Garvey taking over, getting by St. Amant by half a car length. Brian Drebber.
Well, guys, you're right. They're all shaking hands down here, and as I said before, it seems as though they both proved their point. Everyone proved their point here today. The crew has been good. They've worked on the chassis, which has nothing to do with the LS1 V8 project, and Ted Smokestad has driven the car superbly. But I guess maybe happiest of all is Don Taylor and the guys from GM Powertrain who have worked on the car. They qualified 5th, 3rd, 1st. They came here with not a very good qualifying effort, but they ran all the way to the front. I think we've got a very bright future for that program and for ASA in 2000.
And they've had problems with that engine during the development process. Things have had to be reworked, and that's what testing is all about. That's why ASA wanted to put the car on the racetrack and see what happened with the engine under actual competitive conditions. So Smokestad riding 3rd right now, not being scored for points today. Won't get credit for the 3rd place finish if he can hang there. Garvey's your leader from 6th place on the grid. 69 to go. Back live at the Pontiac Excitement 400, the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series here on TNN Motorsports. I'm Rick Benjamin, Butch Miller and Jim Trado alongside. Brian Drebber's on pit road. Action everywhere late in the going here. Tim Sauter in the 9 car, gunning for the national championship with 2 races remaining after today. Being held up by the lapped 04 machine. He'll dive inside. He's got his hands full with Jimmy Johnson. Now they are sitting 4th and 5th on the racetrack. Tristan Dupuis in the 11 there, involved in that last wreck a few minutes ago. He has gone a lap down for the first time today. Tough day for the rookie contender. But this battle is for 4. The V8 car of Ted Smokestad sitting 3rd. Now he will not get credit for 3rd. As we show you the drivers who spent time up in front. Mike Garvey is leading right now. He's led more than 100 laps today. Sauter spent 47 laps out in front, as has St. Amant with 36. Mike Eddy led the first 80 today before crashing out of the race in the first 3rd. Up the back straightaway they come. Sauter and Johnson nose to tail. Sauter's led some, as we showed you a moment ago. Running in 4th spot. Remember that Mike Miller, the point leader for so long this season, went out after 118 laps with a broken motor. They fixed it, they thought. They brought him back out, ran only 1 lap, discovered that the engine had starved for oil, and the repair that they made to the machine was not enough. Johnson to the inside now. Working on the 9 car. Jimmy Johnson will power by, give him 4th. But Johnson with that bonus money up for grabs. This one isn't necessarily over yet. The V8 car, then St. Amant and Garvey, all that are between Johnson and a $10,000 bonus.
I may have falsely accused him of leveling off. We saw how strong Mike Garvey was, and he did pull away from Jimmy Johnson, who has fresher tires, but that may have been a strategy on the part of his crew chief, Howie Leto, to keep that car even, keep the lap times consistent, keep the tires underneath the Pennzoil Chevy.
Johnson about a straightaway behind the leaders as we watch the gap open between the 44 and the 9 of Sauter. Butch, 400 laps around here, long time, more than 200 miles of racing. You've got a good opportunity to adjust the race car and make it better here, don't you?
You sure do. In fact, you adjust at every pit stop until you find the right combination. And then you try and run that combination to the end of the race.
Garvey in the 1 is your leader. St. Amant now stuck behind a couple of slower cars. The 40 of Sperling, the 37 of Anspaugh. So St. Amant on point to make it 1.2 seconds now out of the lead. He'll have to work his way by Brandon Sperling on the backstretch. If Gary could somehow come on and win this thing, it would certainly do a lot to put him back in the championship chase with 2 races to go. Next week at Hawkeye Downs in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And then Saturday, October 2nd, the season finale live here on TNN Motorsports from Orange County Speedway, Rougemont, North Carolina, an afternoon event. We'll be with you for all the coverage here on TNN. Coming up 50 laps to go as we watch St. Amant in 2nd.
We just saw him pull away and lap past Brandon Sperling, who was running in the 10th position, still is 10th, so it took him this long to finally go down a lap. He was just behind that big crash we just came through, so good one for Brandon Sperling, still trying to hang on to a top 10.
Garvey out in front on board the Tecumseh Chevrolet down into turn 3. He's opened up a 2.5 seconds over Gary St. Amant. So Garvey looking to win 2 in a row with the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series, twice in a week maybe. We'll see when we come back. Less than 50 laps to go at Jennerstown Speedway in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. The ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series Pontiac Excitement 400 presented by Jennerstown Commercial Cleaning Services. Mike Garvey is your leader in car number 1. He's a 2.5 seconds ahead of Gary St. Amant. And the V8 car, the Project 2000 machine with Ted Smokestad. Jimmy Johnson runs officially 3rd, then Sauter and Sensiba. Brian Drebber, What about these lead cars? A lot of gap between the guys running behind Garvey and the one car right at the moment. Anybody lining things up for one last tire change and a run at the leader?
Funny you should ask, guys. I ran, well, I walked casually down pit road at a brisk pace, shall we say, and took a poll of all the lead lap cars' crews. Starting with Mike Garvey, the race leader. Obviously, he's in pretty good shape out there right now, and their strategy really is we're going to hold them. We really don't need to do anything, and once again, we're seeing if a car is good, if the lap times are staying consistent, nobody's gaining. Mike Garvey's banking on the strategy of staying out there till the end. On the other hand, we talked to Bud St. Amant, the Gary St. Amant crew in the Wynn Chevrolet. If they get a fairly quick caution, they will come in and change right side tires one more time. They said we could really use a little bit better set of tires than what we have. So that's the story on the 7 car. Back with Jimmy Johnson's crew, Howie Ledow's up on top of the hauler, and I couldn't get up there, but I did talk to some of the other guys, and the consensus among them is they say we're on our qualifying tires. We think that's our best set of tires, and we are definitely going to stay out there for track position. And then for Tim Sauter, of course, he's got a slightly different agenda than the others here. A championship is now most important to him, and finishing this race, he will come in and take on right side tires, and then if he can run to the front and win this thing also, and we add the also very importantly, then Mike Chaffee and that crew say that's what they'll do.
Laps are winding down, though. 40 to go, 39 this time by, and it's been quiet now for about 50 laps. So if things stay stable and there are no more cautions, you wouldn't want to give up the track position at a place like this.
But 1 year ago, Mike Garvey did disprove that theory with coming in late in the race, bolting on tires and charged his way back. He said, I would have caught the leaders, but I flat out ran out of time, and he ended up in the 4th position. So late in the going, that may be worth the risk.
As we watch Sauter in the 9 car running 5th on the racetrack. He's got the Project 2000 laser machine in front of him, though. Dive beneath the damaged 04 car. Brandon Sperling there in the 40. He's 11th, but he's not on the lead lap. Sperling a lap down. There's Garvey in car number 1, who's opened up a 2.5-second lead now on Gary St. Amant. So Garvey has really set sail in the Lefebvre Motorsports Tecumseh Chevrolet, gunning for 2 straight wins. One of the drivers this afternoon ended prematurely this afternoon up against the 3rd turn concrete. Standing by with Brian Drebber.
Ken Alexander is here looking pretty calm and collected. Ken, I guess first of all, you're okay, and second of all, you seem to have broken your toy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, the toy looks pretty bad. I was hoping we could get back out there, but not looking like it right now.
What exactly happened from your point of view? We saw some onboard looks, but what did you see?
Well, we'd been adjusting on the car all day, the Grease Lightning Chevy and all the crew, David Lackey and Dickie and all the guys. We knew we had missed a little bit on the start of the race because we didn't bring enough tires, so we kept getting faster and faster, and we finally got it where we wanted it, and we were just really, I'd hung it out there going in high to go ahead and try to get on up the front. I think we'd moved to about 13th and run in real hot, and all of a sudden they, yell high, high, and the rest is history. I tried to keep it out of the marbles, and I got an edge up and I accelerated to try to get it down, and then it was over. Then it was just a ride.
Like we say to everybody else, better luck next time.
Oh yeah, we appreciate it. We'll be back. It looks good for the team. With Dickie got in the car some this weekend, and we figured out a lot of things we were doing. So yeah, it's going to be really good. Thanks.
Mike Garvey, meantime, has put the 1 car into the wind. He laps by Rick Beebe's machine, so only 7 cars remain on the lead lap. Beebe is 8th. Coming up on 30 to go at Jennerstown for the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series. Back with plenty more in a moment. Back live at Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. Coming up on 25 laps to go for Mike Garvey in car number 1. He has been quick all day. Took the lead back on lap 81. A little bump and run for Mike Eddy. Up in turn 1, Eddy ended up in the fence. Garvey grabbed the lead and has been up front quite a bit since then. Hasn't dominated the race. Many drivers have led today, but Garvey's been strong over the last 100 laps, and he's got a big lead, almost 3 seconds over Gary St. Amant in car number 7. For Garvey, it would be his 2nd consecutive win, 3rd on the season. Mike 5th in series points, 256 out of the lead. He gained a lot of ground on Mike Miller. Miller on track at the moment to finish 31st with the broken motor in car number 18 after 118 laps today. Garvey nice and smooth. That car has been just where he would want it, I think, all afternoon.
Never ever do you see that steering wheel going to the right, unless he puts it on the apron like he did in turn 1 earlier.
Mike smoothly rolls into the throttle coming off the corner. Just a slight move of the wheel to bring the car down into line through the turn. Had to correct just a little bit there, coming under power. Moves under Jack Landis. You can see the 07 go by in the window up on the passenger side of the car. Garvey back under the flag stand. Having lapped the 07. Landis runs 7th, so only 6 cars remain on the lead lap today. So really in the last 100 laps or so, Garvey has put together a dominant performance. Since the last caution, last round of pit stops, with about 90 to go, we should say, Garvey has just been terrific. There's the 07 and the 23. Here's your second place driver, Gary St. Amant, defending series champion. St. Amant 4th in points, 200 back of Miller starting the day. He is on track to finish ahead of Tim Sauter, who will probably come away with a point lead. St. Amant only about 80 points behind Sauter coming in today, so he'll gain a little bit of ground, and we've got a championship fight on our hands. Now running 3rd is the LS1 car. That's Ted Smokestad. He had to start that car shotgun on the field today. Not racing for points, not racing for purse money, and not really racing in the official standings, but he is 3rd on the racetrack. Less than 20 to go. Smokestad riding 3rd on the racetrack in the LS1. A good run for that team. Next car in line with a lot of damage there. You see the white car with the fender poked up in the air. It's the 28 of Tim Taylor. He was involved in a front stretch tangle earlier. So we watch the 7 in the LS1. There's Taylor's machine. Space back a little bit to 4th on the racetrack. 3rd in what will be the official standings. There's Jimmy Johnson in the Pennzoil Chevrolet. He has gotten around Tim Sauter, who is next in line, stands to take over the series point lead, heading to Cedar Rapids and Hawkeye Downs next week.
When Miller dropped out, he was back to 31st. It's where he's going to end up today. At that point in time, Tim Sauter was 4th. Sauter would have a 1-point lead leaving this racetrack.
There's Sauter's machine. 15 seconds, nearly a full lap. 20 seconds to the lap around here. Nearly a full lap behind the one of Garvey, who has checked out. 15 to go this time by. Sauter will work his way under the very heavily damaged 04 machine. Tim led several laps today. Dave Sensiba, though, running right with him. Now, this is a battle for position. Sensiba is 6th. Sauter shown 5th. Remember that the LS1 car is shown 3rd, but not competing for points or purse money here today. So in the final analysis, these cars will move up a spot in all likelihood. Sensiba with time to get up and challenge and make a run here on the 9 car. We're past our scheduled 4 o'clock off-air time. Want to remind you that Car and Driver Television will be up next here on TNN Motorsports, so hang in there. As soon as we conclude our ASA competition from Jennerstown next week, double-barrel NASCAR action from New Hampshire. The New Hampshire Twin 100s at 1 o'clock Eastern and Pacific on Saturday. Then Sunday afternoon at 1 Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, live coverage of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series from New Hampshire. The Duraloop Kmart 300 will be on the air at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, with TNN's Race Day. From our Charlotte studios, 12:30, our pre-race coverage starts from New Hampshire International. 1 o'clock is race time next Sunday afternoon. And in 3 weeks, we'll be back with you in the ASA as Sauter bounces off Tristan Dupuy's 11th car. Sauter running 5th, Dupuy back in 13th spot, coming up on 10 laps remaining. Saturday, October 2nd, the season finale. The ASA Championship will be on the line. We'll show it to you one more time on the backstretch. Sauter walked the car up just a little bit, bounces off Dupuy, gets him in the correct line to go down into turn 3.
It's almost as if Tim did the old bumper pool kind of thing where he tagged him and kept on going. Dupuy, unfortunately, is losing speed. He's been involved in an accident. He also lost a battle within a battle. Rick Johnson passed him a couple of laps ago for the 12th position. They're deadlocked. 111 points separate them in the rookie standings. Johnson now takes a further lead by advancing 1 position and gaining 5 more points on Dupuy in the overall picture. Dave Sensiba there in 6th. That's the white, yellow trimmed machine. There's Alec Pincido in the 93 running
15th at the moment. Craig Stewart back out of the Keener Lumber 33. Heavy damage to him early in the going here, but he has soldiered on. He's running 19th now, even though he's 50 laps down to the leaders. 9 laps remaining at Jennerstown. Sensible lapping by David Anspaugh's 37 car. Anspaugh's 17th. He's had a good day. Many laps down to the leaders, about 23 or so, but heavy attrition today. A lot of hard accidents, a lot of hard hits into the wall. A lot of cars with damage back on the racetrack. One of the few cars that's run cleanly all day, Mike Garvey in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. 7 to go for Garvey, and a huge lead of almost 4 seconds over Gary St. Amant. Look at Harold Fair on his way to perhaps a top 10. Fair running 9th. He's got Ricky Johnson with him. Fair is 2 laps down. Johnson another lap down. Fair trying to put him an additional lap down. Actually, I think Johnson just got by, maybe running a little quicker than Harold Fair at the moment. Johnson pulling away, not for position though. Fair is 9th, Johnson is 12th. And Fair comes after him onto the front stretch. Jimmy Johnson up ahead there. Johnson running 4th in the Pennzoil machine. Ricky Johnson's teammate. You know the story. Friends for years and years and years, not related, but teammates here for the Herzog team. Mike Garvey has led 160 laps. Tim Sauter's led 47. St. Amant 36. Mike Eddy led 80 earlier. Eddy, though, will finish 32nd today because he crashed out. 5 laps to go. 5 to go as we watch Harold Fair and Tim Sauter. Sauter on the lead lap is 5th. Fair is 9th. A couple of laps down. There's your leader, Garvey, on the backstretch. All alone. Gary St. Amant is a quarter of a track behind. Show you the interval. There's St. Amant coming through turn 3. He is 2nd, and he will gain tremendously here on series point leader going in today, Mike Miller. As we've documented, Miller will get credit for a 31st place finish. This is a battle for position now, back in 7th and 8th. Jack Landis and Rick Beebe. Landis 7th, Beebe 8th. They're on the same lap, coming up 2 to go. And Spence with the 2 flags off the flag stand, and Beebe will look inside of Landis. Best battle on the racetrack. Beebe to the inside. Nobody's really been able to make that inside lane work. And Beebe can't do it this time either. Down the back straightaway. White flag in the air for leader Mike Garvey. Takes the white last trip around for the 1 car. Garvey, whose luck has been sour for much of the season, caught the right rabbit's foot about a week ago.
And he will become the first ASA driver to win back-to-back races since Mike Eddy did it here and at Cedar Rapids the following week 1 year ago.
Out of turn 4 to the checkered flags. Mike Garvey is your winner in the Tecumseh Chevrolet. For the Lefebvre Racing team, happy on pit road as well they should be. 2nd win in a week's time for Mike Garvey. Gary St. Amant finishes 2nd. Jimmy Johnson checkers 3rd. Tim Sauter takes 4th. Dave Sensiba is 5th. Jack Landis, Rick Beebe, Harold Fair, Kevin Doran. His driver, Dave Doran, will finish 9th, and Brandon Sperling will round out the top 10 at Jennerstown. We'll be back. Back live at Jennerstown Speedway, Jennerstown, Pennsylvania, the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series. The Pontiac Excitement 400 complete. Our winner is Mike Garvey. Downstairs to Brian Drebber.
Mike Garvey, 2 wins in 6 days. You were awful happy last time. This one was a very, very workmanlike job, more the Mike Garvey that we've seen in the past.
Well, I tell you what, Brian, this car was awesome today. This Lefebvre Racing team Tecumseh Monte Carlo was fast all day long. We just tried to put ourselves in the right place, and I tell you what, these Goodyear tires are awesome today. They'd last all day long, and I just want to take a second and say that deal with Mike Eddy, that was completely my fault, and I'm sorry. I got into him. I hated we got together because he's a good racer, and I like racing with a guy. So I'm sorry, Mike. It wasn't on purpose, but I'm glad to be here.
Congratulations. Back upstairs.
Mike Garvey wins his 2nd straight, his 3rd of the season. A very dominating run in the 2nd half of the race for the Tecumseh Chevrolet. Back with more from Jennerstown in a moment. Our TNN coverage of the ASA's Pontiac Excitement 400 today has been brought to you in part by Grease Lightning Multi-Purpose Degreaser and by AC-Delco Automotive Parts. If you're not asking for it, you're asking for it. Show you the unofficial order of finish here in the Pontiac Excitement 400, presented by Janet King Commercial Cleaning Systems in Jennerstown. Mike Garvey, your winner. Gary Santamont and Jimmy Johnson, the top three. Brandon Sperling finishes 11th. Eddie Hoffman down in 20th after that wreck. Derek Gilchrist wrecked as well. He finishes 21st today. Ken Alexander 23rd after that hard hit. Matt Higgins comes home in 30th spot. Final three cars look like this. Mike Miller, tough afternoon. And Mike Eddy, another tough afternoon. And Greg Usher. And we appreciate you joining us here today. Unofficial points. 2 races to go. Tim Slaughter the leader by 4. And Jimmy Johnson is still